Well, good morning, everybody. Or is it morning or afternoon where you're at? I'm guessing it's morning where most of you are at. So, good morning. We're going to be starting here in about 8 minutes. Look at all these early people. I love it. All right. Let me get all set up here for you. Like I said, we are going to start in about 8 minutes. We'll start right on the hour. We're going to start right on time. So, we're at 7 minutes now. So, grab pen, paper. If you need to use the restroom, now's the time because I'm not going to take a break. I'm going to go straight through. And let me tell you guys, I am going to cover a lot for you today. You are going to love it today. So that said, pen and paper. And by the way, if you guys can hear me, type into the chat, "We got you," or "I can hear you," or something. Let me know you can hear me in the chat. I want to know that you guys are able to hear me audibly while I get my equipment set up here so that we can rock and roll. Can anybody hear me? I got nobody in the chat yet. What's going on? I see all you guys here, but I don't hear any. I don't see anybody in the chat. Come on, folks. Anyone? Anyone? Can anybody hear me? I got hands raised. Are you guys not able to chat? Is that what's going on? Let me see if I can turn the chat on. Oh, look at that. I just figured it out. Look at that. Now let's try it. Now try the chat. See if that works. I think that they had the chat turned off for some reason. There we go. I can hear you. There we go. Perfect. Look at you guys. Hey, real quick, while I'm getting ready here, do me a favor, guys, and invite anybody you know to join us today on this call. I want to make sure that you guys are getting a ton of value out of it, and I want to help bring as much value as I can to your friends and other people that you know that are in the real estate business. And plan on a good, we're going to go, this is going to go for, I mean, here's the thing. You don't have to be here for the entire time, but I'll tell you that it would do you well if you can stay for the whole thing. We're going to be about 3 hours today, just under 3 hours. And I'm going to give you about 3 days worth of information in 3 hours. A lot of the people that are on the call today are people that were not able to make it to one of our live events. And so I'm super glad that you guys made it because we're going to cover a lot of that information that we cover on our half-day events that you weren't able to make it to. Hold on while I go ahead and position my camera over here. I've got a second camera we're recording with today. Make sure that I get that positioned properly. And we'll move this up. Like I said, we're going to start right on the hour. Let's see how that goes. As you can tell, I'm in a hotel room. I'm in Montreal, Canada today. We've got a big event coming up tomorrow here in Canada. All right, so very excited. We got 5 minutes left. So you got 5 minutes to invite anybody you can think of that you feel would get value out of today. We're going to be talking about the new economy, the 2025 economy, and the economy that's coming. And really, we should be talking about the 2026 economy because I got news for you. That's really what's coming. Who just logged in here as a host? Look at that. Somebody else has logged in as me. Is that Camille? I wonder who's on with me here.
Happy Tuesday.
What's up, Camille? It's good to hear your voice. Good. And by the way, I'm glad you're here, Camille, because I'm going to have you type in links and stuff like that. And I'm going to give these guys a bunch of free stuff today. And so I'm going to need you to type in links and stuff like that for me. Let me see if I can switch my microphone really quick here so this one doesn't run out of battery. I just got off of another event. We'll stick that in there. Okay, there we go. What do we got? We got 4 minutes left. Camille, could you do me a favor? Could you put in the chat here, if somebody wanted to invite someone else to this webinar, what link would they send to their friend? Can you stick that in the chat really quick so we can get as many people the ability to invite people they want?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Now, as we're getting started, before we get started, we got 3 minutes. I'm curious. What is the single biggest thing your business needs help with today? Okay. Now, again, I got 3 days worth of content we're going to cover in 3 hours here, but I'm just curious from where you're at today. What is the thing you think, man, I could really use help with that thing? Michael, tell me how I do this. What is the one thing you could use the most help with today? You guys, while we got 3 minutes before the event, this is a rare opportunity. We don't usually get a lot of time before these things because usually I'm going call to call to call back to back. So if anybody has, nobody's typing anything. I'm surprised you guys don't have any questions that you think, man, I could use help with this thing right here, Michael. It's a good time to ask. All right. 2 minutes left. We got 2 minutes before we get started. Here we go. Let's see what people are typing in here. Leads and clients. Oh, I like that. Okay. Oh, I got more than one person saying leads. Okay. So I like that a lot. And by the way, that's a big part of what we're going to talk about today. In fact, did you know that there's over 2,000 lead sources in real estate today? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you, watch this. Today, during our class, about the halfway point, I'm going to go into lead generation. And oh, Cam, I love that. I'm also going to go into lead follow-up at that time. So it's going to go lead generation, then we're going to talk about lead follow-up, then it's going to be lead conversion. That's going to be the second half of our call today. The first half of our call today is going to be all about you guys and what it takes to build your wealth and to make sure that not only are we out there schlepping real estate and making a bunch of money, helping other people buy and sell the stuff that they want to buy and sell, but what about getting you guys in an ownership position on some real estate? What about helping you make money investing in real estate? That's going to be paramount, and we're going to start in about 30 seconds. Hold on 1 second. All right, so about just a few seconds more, we're going to get started. All right, now, yes, please invite your teammates and being consistent. Shannon, I am so glad you brought up being consistent. Do you want to know what I believe the number one thing that you must do if you want to be successful in this business? You've got to get in the right habits, and that starts with being consistent. So holy cow, we got a lot of people on. Holy cow, I'm surprised we got this many people on a, what day is today? Tuesday morning. So good for you guys. I love that you guys are taking advantage of this today. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to see you at one of the live events in your market, but I'm glad you made it here. And it is on the hour. We are officially at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific, and we are going to start right now. So my name is Michael Hellickson. For those of you that don't know who I am, for a long period of time, about 5.5 years, I was the number one agent on planet Earth. I was literally closing about 120 to 180 transactions every single month at a time when number two and number three combined were doing about half of that. And I'm saying that not to brag. I'm saying that so there's credibility behind the message. I'm a real believer that if you want to climb to the top of Mount Everest, you've got to have a guide who's been to the actual top of Mount Everest before. And yes, Camille, I'll tell you what, I will go Facebook Live. Camille, I'm not going to put any kind of description in there. I'm just going to hit live stream on this and go live on Facebook. And we're going to hit continue as Michael. And give me 2 seconds, guys, while I make this live. And go. And so, Camille, we are now live on Facebook, or should be any second now. Okay. Now, that being said, folks, one of the other things I want to share with you is during that time, I actually had 750 listings in active and pending status at any given time. And again, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because, guys, there's so many people in this business that want to give you advice that have never done anything in this business. And I'll tell you right now, you got to, if you want to make more money selling real estate, you want to be successful selling real estate, stop listening to people that have not made a ton of money selling real estate. All right. Now, before we do that, before we get into selling real estate, what I want you to understand is economies change all the time. But one thing we know for sure is one thing always goes up over the long haul. What is that? Type it into your chat. What goes up all the time, long term? Now, there's sometimes some short term little dips here and there, but what has a tendency to go up dramatically over a long period of time? Prices, that's right, home prices, real estate. Real estate goes up in value. Now, back in the day, long time ago, I dated this girl, and she was great. She was all right, but this is back in high school, right? This is long before I met my amazing wife, Tara. And this gal, as good as she was, as nice as she was, whatever, her dad was awesome. I really liked her dad. What did I like about her dad? Well, from her dad, first of all, he was rich, right? This guy, he owned like this massive, I don't know, it's probably like 16,000 square foot house, indoor pool, the whole 9 yards, acreage, gorgeous. And I saw this and I thought, man, I want that someday. And so I started hanging out with this gal a lot more just to kind of get to know the dad better. And what I found was every now and then I would get opportunities to have conversations with him. And one day I asked him, I said, "Hey, do you invest in the stock market?" And what do you think he told me? He says, "Michael, not only do I not invest in the stock market, ask yourself this: why in the world would I invest in somebody else's business when I can invest in my own?" And I thought about that, and that hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, man, that makes all the sense in the world. And so I thought, well, okay, well, I'm not going to invest in the stock market. So then I asked him, I said, "Well, do you invest in real estate?" And he said, "Yes." In fact, his answer was even more detailed, and I want you to write this down. These are the exact words that he told me. He says, "As much as I can, as fast as I can. As much as I can, as fast as I can." Now, guys, I want you to let that sink in for just a second, okay? This is super important. Why? Because I listened to that advice, I took that advice, and I started implementing that advice, and it changed my life, and it just might change your life as well. And so here's what I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend that not only do we talk today about it's about selling real estate, and that's again, that's going to be the second half of our call today. So for about the first hour, hour and a half, I'm going to be talking about how to get your clients, instead of having them buy one house every 10 to 14 years, what if we could get your clients to buy 1 to 4 houses per year? Could you imagine how that might change your life as well as their lives? Think about that. Now, as important as that is, I really want you to be buying real estate for you. If you guys want to eventually build wealth, you're not going to build wealth selling real estate. You're going to build wealth buying real estate and holding on to real estate long term. Now, there's a lot of talk out there about, oh, but Michael, I go buy a house, I get minimal, income and so forth, whatever. It's a slow boat to China, a lot of people would say, right? Well, that's not entirely true, right? I mean, day one, you're going to get massive benefits. And I'm going to walk you through those. So I want you to grab pen and paper and follow closely along with me. One of the things that you need to do, besides teaching your clients how to invest in real estate, you need to be buying real estate for yourself. There's this waterfall of money, and it's sitting right next to most of you guys, and most of you aren't even getting wet. I want you guys to type in on, and it could be the zero might be the number, but I'd like you to type in the chat, how many rental properties do you own? I'd like to see how many of you actually own rental properties, okay? So type in the chat, how many rental properties do you own? Now, that said, one of the things that you need to do is you need to learn, oh, look at all these people with rental properties. Good for you guys. Oh my gosh, I got 7, I got 4, I got 1, 0, got a couple of zeros in there. Hey, thank you for the transparency. I like that. I like your attitude. 0 for now. I like that a lot. And I like this, oh, look at this, 0, but I'm living in my first one. So hopefully it will be my first next year. Yes, I love that. All right. So that's a great strategy, by the way. House hacking, all that good stuff. Love it. So, and I'm seeing lots of 1s, couple of 2s. All right, guys, so here's the deal. I want you to become your best client. Write that down. Be my own best client. Be my own best client. Guys, I've made millions and millions of dollars selling real estate, but guess what? I made a lot more investing in it. And what's cool is the investing side works for me in my sleep. All of you that own rental properties know this. Now, I want you guys each to start teaching 3 seminars. Why in the world would you only sell 1-to-1 when you can be selling 1-to-many? Think about this for a second. If I do a buyer seminar, a seller seminar, and an investor seminar each week, think about what that means. That means even if let's say I do a buyer seminar on Tuesdays, and I only get 4 or 5 buyers to show up. That's like doing 4 or 5 buyer presentations all at once. That's a great use of my time. Not only that, because it's in front of a group of people, I'm the expert in the front of the room. Each of them has a higher likelihood of doing business with me at some point. Think about, okay, Wednesdays, I'll do a seller seminar, right? So on my seller seminars, if I get 5, 10 sellers there, that's like doing 5 or 10 listing appointments all at the same time. Guys, you got to start selling 1-to-many. So I recommend 3 seminars that you should teach: buyer, seller, and investor seminars. And what I would do is I would do my buyer seminar Tuesday, seller seminar Wednesday, investor seminar Thursday. I would do this in this market today. I would go next week to a market that's like 35 minutes away from me. And then I'd go, the next week I'd go 35, 40 minutes away. And then the next week I'd go 35, 40 minutes away from that. And essentially I'd make the rounds and I'd come back to my original area once a quarter. And the more often I can do this, the more I'm selling 1-to-many, the more clients I've got coming in. Guys, these seminars work great. Now, When it comes to your investor seminars, again, the first half of today, we're going to talk about investing in real estate. So watch this. First of all, you need to learn to articulate to your clients, maybe even to your spouse, why real estate is the best investment out there. So I'm going to rock and roll through this really quick, and then we're going to get into how to sell more real estate. Okay. And by the way, I'm going to show you today 5 ways to earn whatever the average sales price is in your market in the next 12 months, working just part-time, working just 22 and a half hours a week. And I'm also going to show you 3 different ways to avoid paying federal income tax forever. Okay. In fact, write this down. If you paid federal income tax anytime between 2022 and now, if you paid any federal income tax whatsoever, write tax, just type tax into the chat. And while you're doing that, I'm going to start with this. Write this down. IDEAL. Oh, look at all these taxpayers. Holy cow, that's a lot of taxes. Man, look at all you guys. There's a ton of you paying taxes. All right. So watch this. Why is real estate the best investment out there? Okay. Number one, why is it the ideal investment? Number one is because you get income. Okay, so think about this. I buy a house, and for the purpose of our discussion today, I'm not going to talk about creative finance. I'm not going to talk about any crazy transactions. I'm going to talk about super straightforward, super easy peasy lemon squeezy, $500,000 house with 20% down or $100,000 down. Bought it straight out of the multiple listing service, not even getting a great deal on it, just super easy. Anybody can do this any day of the week kind of transaction. Okay. So I go buy that house for $500,000. Day one, I'm getting $750 to $1,250 a month in positive monthly cash flow. And I'll show you exactly what and where I buy in just a minute, so that you know where you can get deals like this. Some of you are on the coast, maybe you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm not finding good deals in my area. Yeah, I get that. That's why I don't usually buy on the East and West Coast. I'll share that in a minute. That said, if I put my $100,000 in the stock market, how much money do I make? Zero, right? I mean, if I'm lucky, I'm getting some dividends. So maybe I'm getting 25, $50 a month, but it's not a lot of money, right? All right. So real estate clearly wins there. Now, for all you taxpayers out there, Kyle, the short answer is I'm not sure which Kyle that is. Let me see which Kyle that is. Kyle, I'm not sure if we're going to have the recording available or not. We are trying to broadcast this on Facebook Live as well. Hopefully that's working. And it's good to see you, Kyle. I'm glad you made it. But we will hopefully have that recording available going forward. So just reach out to us after, and I'll let you know if it worked or not. All right, so watch this. I'm going to give you one way. I'm going to give you 3 ways today, but here's the first of the 3 ways to avoid paying federal income tax forever. I haven't paid any federal income tax since 2022. And one of the reasons why is depreciation. Now, here's where house flippers make the mistake, right? On house flipping, I got to pay income tax on it, especially if I'm doing 5 or more properties per year. I'm a dealer now. All of a sudden, that's income tax, right? That's a problem. But get this. Even if I'm doing flips, or even if I'm doing some buy and hold, I need to use depreciation properly. See, I go out and I buy that $500,000 house. Day one, I'm saving $7,000 per year in taxes I won't pay just because I own that house. Now, if I were to take that same $100,000 and put it into the stock market, do I get to deduct depreciation there? Do I get a tax deduction at all? No, I can defer some taxes potentially, but I'm not getting a tax deduction, okay? So real estate wins again. E stands for equity. Equity is such a big deal. Guys, for those of you that own rental properties, you know this. Every single month, every single day, there are people in your properties paying you thousands and thousands of dollars to pay off your mortgages. And so your equity is getting bigger. Even if the property doesn't go up in value, you're still gaining because they're paying down the mortgage on that property. Who's paying off your stocks? Nobody's paying off your stocks, right? So again, real estate wins. Now watch this. What does the A stand for? That's appreciation. Appreciation. Now check this out. Appreciation is huge. Stock market in the last 30 years has gone up an average of 4.2% roughly over the last 30 years. Sounds great, right? Well, what's inflation been over that same 30 years? 4.1%. So congratulations, you barely kept up with inflation. Stock market sucks. Watch this. Real estate, same period of time, 4.8%. Doesn't sound like a big deal, right? But that 0.6% difference, that advantage over the stock market, you multiply that, you compound that over 30 years, it's a big number, okay? So real estate wins again. And by the way, do stocks ever go down in value? Oh, yeah. In fact, sometimes they go to zero, right? How about real estate? Does real estate ever go to zero? No. Does it ever go down in value? Sure. But even if your house burns down, you probably have insurance, right? So now you're getting a new house. By the way, if you for some reason didn't have insurance, which would be crazy, but if for some reason you didn't have insurance, the land still has value. Even in these areas in California, for example, and shout out to our California friends. By the way, you guys are going through some stuff right now with all this rioting and stuff that's going on down there and the fires you just had. What a crazy 12 months it's been in California. We love you guys. We're praying for you. That being said, even in those areas that the houses all burned down, guess what? People went in and had been buying off those lots for 1.5 to 2 times what they were worth before the fires. And so again, real estate has a huge advantage over the stock market. It never goes to zero. It only goes up. Now, again, can it go down short term? Sure, but it's not going to go to zero. All right. L stands for leverage. And this is the big one. All right. Can I leverage my money in the stock market? Sure. But that's called buying on margin. And that's dangerous. It's risky. And let me tell you something. That's a really rough road. In fact, if you wanted to borrow, let's say you wanted to borrow $100,000 to invest in the stock market, right? It's called buying on margin. Well, guess what would happen? You're going to have to pay an interest rate on that money somewhere between 4.7 and 11.7%, which means that even if you were beating the S&P 500, which by the way, 85% of fund managers can't even beat the S&P 500, you're still barely breaking even once you pay that interest rate, unless you're getting some crazy wild returns, which unless you're a congressperson, probably not going to happen. Sorry, that's probably not a very nice thing to say about those congress people. But that being said, at the end of the day, leveraging inside the stock market, very risky, very unlikely you're going to do well there. But watch this. Can I leverage in real estate? Absolutely. I can do it safely and I can do it more effectively. I can leverage 4-to-1. If I put 20% down on that $500,000 property, all of a sudden the bank's giving me $4 for every dollar I invest. And now I'm instead of getting, let's say that the stock market and the real estate went up by 5% each. Now in the stock market, let's assume I'm not going to leverage my money because it's too risky. So I'm going to get on my $100,000 investment. I make $5,000 per year. I take that same $100,000 I put in real estate, just in appreciation, not even counting the other stuff. Just in appreciation alone, guess what? I'm going to make $25,000 in that year at 5% appreciation. That's not counting the income depreciation or equity. Guys, real estate crushes every other investment out there. Okay. So we really want to be investing in real estate. Okay. By the way, in the chat here, type in, if you're in Facebook, Camille is going to be watching the Facebook feed and she's going to make sure that she gets your questions for me into this feed on the webinar. And those of you that are here on the webinar, you can ask me any question you want directly and I will do the very best I can to answer all of your questions as we go along, okay? And by the way, I teach this almost every day, so I love hearing your questions. So please ask lots of questions. All right, now let's talk really quick about what do I buy, okay? Now, you can buy anything you want. The key is, as a real estate agent, you have got to buy real estate, okay? And the S&P 500 is the Standard & Poor's 500. It's top 500 stocks that they rate, and they go up at about, let's just say, call it 10.5 to 12% per year at most. And so, again, 85% of the fund managers can't even beat the S&P 500. Great question. All right, now, that being said, let's talk about what we buy. So first and foremost, I don't buy in the ghetto. In fact, I don't even like buying entry-level properties. Why? Because when you buy entry-level properties, what do you get for tenants? You get entry-level tenants, right? Who tend to be a lot more difficult on houses. They beat the houses up more. You have longer vacancies. You have more frequent vacancies. Now, what is the most expensive thing owning real estate when we talk about buy and hold long-term real estate? The most expensive thing is turnover. Okay. And so what I want to avoid is I want to avoid turnover at all costs. So I like to buy move up properties in nice neighborhoods, sidewalks, grass, trees, the whole 9 yards, access to transit, nice areas, places where you and I would live in a pinch, right? Those are great properties to buy. Now, That said, I still have vacancy that comes up. And when I do, I still have to do carpet and paint. And so one of the things I do is, first of all, I never replace carpet. I'll always I'll tear the carpet out and I'll replace it with LVP. I want to harden the house, right? I want to make it kind of bulletproof, if you will. Now, if I have turnover in an entry level property, not only do I have carpet and paint I got to deal with, but now I've got cabinets, I've got doors ajar, I've got holes in doors and walls, I've got appliances messed up. There's all kinds of problems I encounter, and not only that, again, I have more vacancies that last longer and more damage. And so it costs me a lot more money. So even though sometimes the numbers, when you first look at it, well, gosh, I'm buying it for this, my payment's going to be that, and my rent is going to be this. I'm going to have this big gap between the rent and the payment. I'm going to be cash positive. My rent is up here, my payment's down here. I'm going to make a ton of money. But you may or may not be factoring in your vacancy and maintenance. Okay, so we're going to get into exactly what to factor in for those in a second. Let me read this really quick. If you're doing a flip at $100,000 set, 150,000 in less than 90 days, is there a way to avoid capital gains or some? Here's the thing. First of all, you get a 1031 tax deferred exchange if you want to avoid the capital gains on those properties. We'll talk about that in a second. But the easiest way to avoid capital gains is don't sell the property. Hold on to that property long term. And why sell it when I could just borrow that money against it and go buy more with that and rent the first one out? I collect properties. I don't like flipping properties. Now, don't get me wrong. Flipping properties can be an effective way to establish cash so that you can go buy more properties that you hold on to. That's true. That being said, the kind of the end goal here is I want to own as much cash flowing real estate as humanly possible. Okay. All right. Okay. And let's see here. Okay, good. All right. So let's see. What do you think about Section 8 rentals, but now with the rumors of cutbacks on Section 8? That is a great question, Sherman. I'm going to address that in just a second. Once we get into, actually, I'll tell you about the two types of tenants I rent to, and then we'll talk about Section 8. So there's two main types of tenants I rent to. I rent to retail tenants and I rent to institutional tenants. Now, there's a big difference between the two. Retail tenants is mom and pop off the street. They're going to rent a house from me, an apartment, whatever, right? That's retail. Institutional clients are like government entities, nonprofits, corporations. These are things like battered women's shelters, sober living houses, halfway houses, nurses housing, things like that. So where I'm renting to an entity, not to an individual. All right. Now, this is where politics gets really important. Now, I don't want you to all get freaked out, about, I'm going to be a little political with you here for just a second. And by the way, I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, conservative, or liberal. None of that crap means anything to me. All I care about is, can we be good to each other? Can we help each other out? Can we respect each other? Can we make money together? Those are things I care about. Okay. All the rest of that stuff's noise. That being said, politics has a big impact on what and where I buy. All right. I'll give you an example. I own a ton of stuff in a place called Illinois. You guys all know Illinois. Illinois is a blue state. Here's the problem. I don't buy retail in Illinois. I only buy institutional in Illinois. And here's why. Red states tend to favor landlords. Blue states tend to favor tenants, right? And so when you buy in a blue state, let's use Illinois, for example. If I've got retail properties in that state and for some reason somebody stops paying me in November, guess what? It's going to be April before I can get them out of the house. It's going to be literally, I'm going to go all that time from November to April not collecting a payment. They're probably damaging the property while they're in there. And I can't even get them out because of the landlord tenant laws there, because they have things like eviction moratoriums, they have rent control, all that kind of stuff. You don't generally see that in red states. And so I'm very careful about where I buy for retail. Now, institutional, I'll buy in blue states or red states, doesn't matter. I'll buy institutional anywhere, but I only buy retail in red states. All right, now, I always follow the 1% rule. And actually, let's back up before we talk about the 1% rule. I'm going to answer your question, Sherman. On Section 8, I like Section 8. If you're going to buy entry level, do it with Section 8. Why? Because Section 8, essentially, I don't want to say it's guaranteed rent, but they subsidize the rent for these folks. And nobody wants to lose their Section 8 benefits. So guess what they do? They generally will take better care of the place because there's inspections regularly, all this kind of stuff. And they generally will pay on time. So I like Section 8. Now, you're right. With the new Trump administration in place, one of the things they're trying to do is they're trying to take Section 8 off the federal payroll and move it back to the states. I don't know yet what's going to happen with that. And yes, it is a point of concern for me. I'm not saying it's the wrong move. I'm just saying that I want to make sure that I'm waiting to buy stuff. Like I'm in a holding pattern right now on buying Section 8 properties because I want to know what's going to happen with that before I do. Now, uncertainty creates opportunity, right? So for those of you that want to take maybe a little bit more risk, Section 8 might be a great investment right now because once we know what happens, there's going to probably be more people entering back into that Section 8 marketplace. Okay. All right. Now, the 1% rule is very simple. If I'm buying a house for $500,000, it must rent out for $5,000 a month or more, or I will not buy that property. End of story. It's got to meet this rule. Okay. Now, in your area, you may or may not be able to find these. In fact, type into the chat, are you able to find deals like that in your market? And if so, what market are you in? I'm curious. Maybe I need to reach out to you. And by the way, when I buy from real estate agents all over the country. Okay. So I literally buy 99.9% of what I buy is right out of the MLS. Look at that. Cleveland, Ohio. I've got stuff in Cleveland. I'm always looking in Cleveland, by the way. And so we should talk. And I'm seeing St. George. No way. Yeah, I'm with you on St. George, Kyle. That's a tough one. Anywhere in Utah, for that matter, is tough. Utah's gone crazy. Montana, yeah, and if Montana, it's funny you say 5% cap rate, Sherman. I don't buy anything unless it's at least a 10.5 to 11.5 cap. And I'll show you that in a minute. And a lot of people think, well, Michael, how do you find those deals? I find them all the time. They're out there. And so that being said, the 1% rule is really important to me. I want to make sure that I've got 20 to 50% equity in the property. Now, this is a big deal. This is something that you guys need to be, and here's the problem. Real estate agents, when they're buying for themselves, oftentimes find it easy to stray away from the rules. Guys, we're way too comfortable with debt as real estate agents. Now, I like good debt. I don't want consumer debt, but I understand good debt and making debt work for you. But the problem is that we also are way too comfortable in real estate deals sometimes, and sometimes we'll get outside our numbers. Here's what I'm going to recommend to you. It is very, very, very important that you stick to your rules, whatever they are, whether they're the ones that I have or you make different rules for yourself. Figure out what works for you and stick to your numbers and don't get outside those rules, and you'll do better. 20 to 50% equity is a great example of this. I don't care how I get to my 20% equity. I don't care if it's because I put 20% down or if it's because I find a really good deal or maybe I have 10% off and I put 10% down or whatever. I don't care how I get to 20%. I just need to make sure I'm always at least at 20% because if something happens, if I decide this one's a dog or for some reason I've got to sell it or whatever, I want to get paid to get rid of it. I don't want to have to pay to get rid of it. Okay. Very, very important. All right. Now, for those of you that just joining us, I noticed we've had a bunch of people kind of logging in here. Those of you just joining us, the first half of what we're doing today, we're talking about you and your clients investing in real estate. And the second half of what we're doing today, we're talking about you making more money selling real estate. And I'm going to show you 5 different ways to make whatever your average sales price is in your market in commission income every year, working just part-time on any one of those 5 ways. All right. Now, the 50%, there's 2 reasons why I never want to have more than 50% equity in a house. Now, this is super important, all right? Number 1 is the easy one. Can anybody guess what these 2 reasons are, by the way? Type into the chat if you think you know what these reasons are, okay? All right, this is really, really important. Number 1, I never want to have more than 50% equity because if I have more than 50% equity, my money is not working hard enough for me, right? It's very, very important that my money is working harder for me than I'm working for money. And that's the big shift. When you get to that point in your life and you realize, oh my gosh, I literally could sit back and my money will just continue to grow. I'm living on far less than I need, than I make on my passive income. All of a sudden, life gets really good really fast, okay? That being said, the second reason why I never want more than 50% equity, and a couple of you just mentioned this, I'm actually impressed that you guys got this, is liability. So check it out. I just had a tenant here last year, had a tenant at one of my houses, gets drunk, falls down, breaks his ankle in the house, right? Sues me, right? Or I should say, approaches his attorney. Attorney says, hey, let me check out that property. Finds out there's a mortgage on that property less than 5 years old. So guess what? The attorney says, well, hey, we can do this lawsuit if you want, but you're going to have to pay me on a retainer and you're going to have to put up X amount of dollars and it's going to take 1 to 3 years to go through this process. No guarantees if we're going to win or not. If we win, great, you'll collect some money. If we lose, you could end up having to pay the landlord's attorney's fees as well. Would you like to continue forward with this? What do you think the tenant's going to say? Hey, I'm broke, can't do it. No. So instead, they just pay him to write me a letter and try and extort me for money for nothing, right? So I get this letter. What do you think I do with it? Chuck it in the garbage, right? I don't care until there's a lawsuit filed. It's not even worth my time and attention. It's not, right? If you really think you've got a case, then file a lawsuit. Now, the next thing they did, I tossed the letter in the garbage. What do you think they do? They go file a claim against the insurance company. What do you think the insurance company says? Well, they just denied the claim. So now the guy's got to go back to the attorney. The attorney's going to say, well, you can pay me on a retainer, but it's owned by an LLC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Good luck, right? But what if I owned that free and clear? If there was no mortgage on it, what now? Okay. Well, now the attorney says, well, I'll take it on contingency. You don't even have to pay me in advance. I'll just take it and, I'll put all the money up and we'll all, spend the next 1 to 3 years fighting this. If we win, though, I get 40% of the winnings, right? And they think real estate agents are crook with the little amount you guys charge. Cracks me up, these attorneys out there. Anyway, that being said, what's going to happen now? Now there's a much higher likelihood that I'm going to get sued if I own that property free and clear. So having debt on a property reduces my chances of a lawsuit dramatically. All right. Kimberly asks, real quick, do you have the same 50% equity rule for your primary residence? No. Although I will say this. I personally prefer to see that equity in my personal residence working for me as well, because again, that's money I can take out and I can go buy more investment properties with it. So personally, I do follow the 50% rule. I'm not saying you need to. There's some security in having your house paid off and all that stuff. I get that. It really just depends on what your goals are, what your risk tolerance is, and how far you really want to take this, right? The mathematically most correct thing to do if you want to, grow the most and make the most money is to follow the 20% to 50% equity rule. Mathematically, that's the right thing to do. But there is an emotional component to this, right? There is some value in having that property paid off that you live in, right? So you make your decision there. No judgment on my part either way. Okay. All right. And how do I have debt on the real estate that's paid off? Use it for collateral on other properties, borrow money against it. So there's 3 ways you can do that. There's 3 ways you can take money out of your property. I can do a second, actually it's more than that, but I can do a second mortgage on it. So if I own it free and clear, I would just remortgage it, or I would get a home equity line of credit, or if I owe some money on it, but there's a bunch of equity, I can do a second mortgage. You can also cross collateralize that. You can package it up with other properties you have in one package and get a loan against that entire package of properties. There's lots and lots of ways to do this. I recommend you got to have a great lender. And by the way, I recommend, I'm going to say I recommend my daughter. But I'm not just telling you that because she's my daughter. I'm telling you that because I do all my loans through her. She's freaking amazing. This is what she does. She's in every state except for New York and Massachusetts. She's constantly winning awards from places like United Wholesale Mortgage on the consistently fastest close times. She specializes in investment properties and difficult to place loans. She's the one that when your lender can't figure it out, you call her and she gets it done. I had one of our coaches just this last week couldn't figure out, hey, I've got these multiple properties and they are, they're all, like 100,000 or less, and I need to get loans on these properties. And they couldn't find a place to place these particular loans on these investment properties because the loan amounts were going to be too low for most lenders. And there's a bunch of them. Well, guess what? Called Madison. Not only did Madison get it done, got it done for a great interest rate, was able to leverage those properties into more properties. That's how you do it. All right, next, I want to have 25% arbitrage. Okay, 25% arbitrage. All right, what does arbitrage mean? Arbitrage is the difference between my PITI. Okay, so my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Let's say that's $3,000 a month. Okay, so I'm going to take my PITI minus my rent, or I should say my rent minus my PITI, and that difference, so if my rent is $4,000 or more, then I would have at least 25% arbitrage, or the delta, the difference between those two. That's very important because now I have to factor in, because watch this, that doesn't mean I'm making $1,000 a month. I still have to factor in vacancy and maintenance. These are both very, very important factors. Now, for vacancy on retail properties, I'll factor 5%. On institutional properties, I'll factor in 1%. Then I've got my maintenance, and this is another very big deal, right? So on maintenance, I need to factor for retail properties. I'm going to factor about 20% per year or per month. There's 20% for maintenance. And then for institutional properties, I'll factor in about 9% for maintenance. Okay. All right. Any questions on these numbers? Okay. And Daniel, yeah, Camille just put in Madison's info in there. It's perfectfitloans.com. You guys also have two lenders though. Seriously, you never want just one lender. Okay, you gotta have two pigs at the trough. They gotta compete against each other and keep each other honest. All right. So where do I buy these? Predominantly, I'm in about 15 states right now. Predominantly, I'm buying in the Midwest. Right, I'm buying and stuff like Illinois, Oklahoma, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky. I just bought one in Delaware, believe it or not, which is clearly not in the Midwest, but it turns out we got good numbers there. And so anyway, I'm buying where the numbers make sense. I live in Washington State. I don't own I own a couple of houses that my family uses, and I own some commercial property there. But I don't own residential retail, rental properties there because the numbers just don't make sense. And no, retail versus institutional. Remember, that's all about the tenant, not about the property. So retail is mom and pop just going to rent from me. They're going to rent a house or apartment or whatever. Institutional is I'm renting to a corporation, a government entity, an institution of some kind. Okay. All right. Great question. All right. Let's keep going. Let's see. Yeah. Camille, can you put those maintenance numbers in there for them, please? If you can go back over that. All right. So let's talk about really quick on structure. Okay. This is how now I got to preface this with I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. Okay. I have to tell you that from a legal standpoint. Okay. So don't, this is for entertainment purposes only, whatever. I'm just a rich guy that's got really good attorneys and CPAs that work for him that over the last 35 years have helped me kind of figure out what I need to do. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you something. I want you guys to hear me loud and clear on this. Just because an attorney or a CPA says that they think you should do X, Y, or Z does not mean it's good advice. Okay. In fact, I lost over $100 million one day because I took really good legal advice from an attorney that turned out to be really bad business advice. Okay. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, so a long time ago, I caught the state of Washington Department of Real Estate Licensing breaking the law. They were doing these random audits. It wasn't a big deal. It was just inconvenient, right? Well, one day they came knocking on my door to do one of these random audits. And I was in Dallas. I was visiting Fannie Mae, Nation Star, and Bank of America, a bunch of my my REO clients down there. And when they knocked on my door, I was out of town. So I called my attorney and I said, hey, could you go do this audit for me? And he says, well, no, I'm in court for another client. Just tell him to go away. I said, well, I can't tell them to go away. It's the state, right? He says, no. They're breaking law. It's against the law. They know it. And we've talked about it before. So just tell them to go away. They'll go away. Okay. And so nervously, I told my director of first impressions or our receptionist, I said, hey, tell them to come back in a couple of weeks when I'm back in town. So she did. And they apparently didn't like that. And so the next day they came back with a subpoena. Yeah, not fun, right? So now I'm freaking out. I call my attorney back and my attorney says, well, don't worry about it. Just, just authorize me $1,500. I'll take him to court. It'll be no big deal. Okay. So I said, go for it. Do whatever you got to do. So he takes him to court the next day. He gets a restraining order saying that not only can they never audit me again, they can never audit any other broker in the state ever again. Now, the reason why this is a very big deal is because we just shut down their auditing department and they weren't very happy about it. So they hired a full-time private investigator the next week who spent the next 17 and a half months trying to find any dirt they could find us. They literally contacted every buyer, seller, agent, escrow company, title, everybody they could find that had ever done a transaction with me. And they would write complaint letters on state letterhead and send it over to them and ask them if they would sign them. Well, after 17 and a half months, they got 21 of these letters back. 18 of them were from agents in this one particular office, Windermere office close to us. I didn't like the broker in that office, and I don't think he liked me very much either, because he told all his agents, hey, if you don't sign this, I'm going to fire you. Well, obviously not a legitimate complaint in those 18, right? And so, in fact, I found out about this because one of the agents in that office was so upset by what he had done that she actually interviewed with us, ended up coming to work for us. And by the way, I'm not suggesting this is a recruiting strategy for those of you that are building teams or brokerages or downlines or whatever. I'm just using it as an example to illustrate that not every attorney gives great advice in terms of business advice. So check this out. So the other three complaints were from short sale sellers, and they were upset that I didn't get their deficiency waived, which, by the way, is completely out of my control, right? So the state writes us a letter and they say, yep, looks like you're doing what you're supposed to do. We're going to drop it. Okay, cool. So that sounds great. But fast forward to 2010, we find out they're violating that court order. And so we take them back to court to enforce the court order. Well, this time, rather than fight us in court, what do you think they decided? Well, on Friday, that week, on Friday, they hit send on an email suspending my real estate license and telling the MLS to cancel my 750 listings that I had in active and pending status that day. Which obviously was a huge shock to us, especially because we're kind of like the Boy Scouts in the industry, right? We're crossing T's, dotting I's, everything was, spot on. Well, it takes us 30 days to get them in front of a judge. When we finally get them in front of a judge, what do you think the judge says? He actually said that they had violated our civil rights in 3 different ways. He ruled that they were grossly negligent for taking our licenses to begin with, and he made them give us our licenses back. Now, you go Google my name, that's not what you see online. What you see online is Michael lost his license. You don't ever see the truth behind why I lost it, nor do you see that the judge then ruled that they were grossly negligent and made them give us our licenses back. You won't read about that. Why? Because it's not sexy. It doesn't sell headlines, right? Or it doesn't sell papers and clicks and all that stuff. Anyway, my point is this. I could have avoided all of that pain. And by the way, I didn't get any money back in damages because they have express and implied immunity. So there's no way to get money back out of it. So even though we could prove gross negligence, that being said, it was great legal advice from that attorney, but it was terrible, terrible, terrible business advice. So I'm just telling you, you need to know enough to be the captain of your ship. You need to understand enough about what I'm teaching you and what you're going to learn from your CPAs and your attorneys to be the captain of the ship. But you got to understand that at the end of the day, you're the captain. Okay. All right. So I'm going to recommend you have a trust. This is what I have. I've got a trust at the top. It is a revocable living trust. All that means is that I can change it at any time during my lifetime. And by the way, I see a hand raised. If you guys have questions, type them into the chat. I'll answer them in the chat. Or I'll do the best I can to answer them in the chat as we go along. And Camille will also, if you're on Facebook and asking questions on Facebook, Camille will type those into the chat for you. So that being said, I want my revocable living trust. Off of that, I'm going to have what's called my personal holding company. Okay, now there's 3 different types of entities that you'll hear people talk about a lot for those. Yes, my pleasure, Shannon. I appreciate you being here. Sorry to hear about your family medical emergency there. Please go take care of your family. We appreciate you, and hopefully we'll catch up with you again. So that being said, my personal holding company is going to be a Wyoming LLC. You'll hear about Wyoming, Delaware, and Nevada corporations talked a lot about. Understand this, it changes all the time depending on what's going on in the political environment. I like to use a Wyoming LLC because that Wyoming LLC is going to give me the best protection, the best anonymity. Now, remember, guys, we're going to be talking about how to make money selling real estate in just a minute, but we got to first understand when we make it, how do we keep it? How do we keep as much of that money that we're making as humanly possible? Okay. And that's by investing in real estate. And this is also what we want to see our clients doing. Now, I don't put my rental properties in that holding company. What I'm going to do is underneath that holding company, I'm going to have my state-specific LLCs. So I might have a Washington LLC, I might have an Ohio LLC, whatever, right? But I'll have an LLC for each of the states I do business in, okay? Now, I put my properties in there. Now, if I have 5 or fewer properties, guys, this is very, very important. 5 or fewer properties, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put each of them in a separate LLC because I want to protect that first million I make. I cannot stress this enough. The first million is the hardest million to make. To go from 1 to 10 is very easy. To go from 10 to a million is also from 10 to 100 is also very easy. But to go from 0 to 1, that's the grind. And I don't want you to have to start over, okay? So very important that we spread that out beyond that. So if I have 6 or more properties, I'll drop down here and I'll do what are called sub or series LLCs. These are cheaper than the LLCs, and it's really easy. I get all the same protection, all the same benefits that I get out of an LLC, I get in my sub or series LLCs. Okay. All right. Now, this is my personal side. This is where I put all my personal properties. Over to the other side, on the right-hand side, I have a partner holding company. Now, that partner holding company is also very important, okay? Because I want to separate my personal stuff from my stuff that I do with partners around the country. Now, there's two main types of partnerships that you'll see in real estate, and you got to decide, like, is one of these appropriate for you? In fact, there's what are called syndications, which I don't love. This is what you'll see Grant Cardone doing, right? This is where they'll take somebody else's money. They get a whole bunch of people together. Those people put their money up. One guy or one person goes out, invests that money in real estate, and then they split up the profits, right? That sounds great in theory, but here's one of the big problems with this. One of the big problems with this is that once you've given your money to a syndication, you lose control of your money. It's gone. You don't have control over it anymore, and it's very risky. All right, now, you can also do straight up partnerships. These are things like there'll be a managing partner and a capital partner. If you're good at finding deals, right? If you're good at finding investment properties and you don't mind doing the management, you should consider being a managing partner, okay? And what this means is you go out, you find the deals, you negotiate the deals, you close the deals, you find the contractors, you go manage the contractors, you do the rehab, then you find the tenants, you manage the tenants, you deal with all the tax and legal folks, and you get 50% of the ownership. You have zero money invested, right? The capital partner puts up 100% of the money, has zero work in it, and they get 50%. Okay. Now, if you don't love the management side and all the other stuff that goes along with that, then maybe you should be a capital partner. Now, if you're okay doing both and you're able to find great deals, then you should do both. But at the end of the day, you got to get your foot in the water. You got to start making money investing in real estate. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. All right. Now, and if there's any questions, I'm going to go ahead and type it in the chat. I go deeper on this. I do a webinar, just a Friday morning or a Saturday morning, twice a month, once on a Friday, once on a Saturday. I do a webinar where essentially I go over in detail how to invest in real estate. If you'd like to participate in that, Camille is going to put into the chat. It's jvpartnerzoom.com, jvpartnerzoom.com. And if I'm getting a comment in the chat here that says, Michael, I've got a deal. Who do I talk to about the different financing options? That is definitely AJ. Oh, is that AJ Modig? Hey, what's up, brother? Call Madison, man. Let's get you on the phone with Madison. There's nobody I trust more with investment property financing than her. And so let's, what I would suggest is, in fact, AJ, because I know you, why don't you and I do a three-way call with Madison, and I'll help you work through some of those options with her. We'll sit down, we'll talk about kind of the deal that you've got, and maybe it involves her, maybe it doesn't involve her. But Camille, would you do me a favor? AJ, if you want to just private message Camille real quick, I'll have her set up that call for us. Camille, are you on so you can take care of that for us?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you, Camille. So AJ's should get you squared away on that. We'll set up a call right away. All right. That being said, I want to talk about how not to pay taxes. Okay. If you would like to avoid ever paying federal income tax again, I want you to type in no tax in the chat. Okay. I want to see everybody type in no more taxes or no tax in your chat. Let's see how many of you want me to tell you about this. Okay. Oh, come on. Out of all the people on this call, I got a handful. Okay, look at that. There's some people typing it in. Come on, everybody should be typing this in. Because I'll tell you right now, as Benjamin Franklin said, the very best way to save money is the avoidance of tax. So if there's one thing we need to do, it's stop paying federal income taxes legally. Okay, now I'm not talking about anything weird like the Patriot Act or any of that weird stuff. Okay, it's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about very straightforward, using the tax code to our advantage, okay? So first and foremost, we have depreciation, okay? Now, we're going to call this straight line depreciation. Very, very simple, okay? Now, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go buy that $500,000 house. The land value is going to be about $100,000, okay? That's the land. And then about $400,000 of that house is going to be the value of the improvement on the land. Now, the improvement is the hotel, the house, the oil well, whatever's built on that land is the improvement on the land. Now, get this. Just for depreciation, the government's going to say, look, we're not going to give you a tax benefit on the land value, okay? So we know that's just going to go up in value. But we will give you a tax benefit on the $400,000. This is where it gets really interesting, all right? And so they're going to let you take that $400,000, divide by 27.5 years. And they're going to let me take 127 and a half of $400,000 as a deduction on my taxable income every year for the next 27 and a half years. That results in, if I'm in a 48% tax bracket, that's going to give me about a $7,000 per year savings, money that I won't pay in taxes every year. That's straight line depreciation. Everybody can take advantage of that, okay? As long as you're in America, everybody in America can take advantage of this. By the way, my Canadian friends, I know we're getting more and more people in Canada watching. Guys, I'm going to be talking not only about more investing in real estate stuff and how to build generational wealth, but then when we get to the making money selling real estate portion, it's all applicable to Canada too, okay? But the US tax code allows me this as straight line depreciation. Now, in the US, it gets even better if I am a full-time real estate professional. You see, back around COVID time, they said, hey, look, we got to stimulate the economy. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to set America up for another foreclosure boom, right? We don't want to have another crisis on our hands. And so we're not going to just give a big tax break to everybody out there, but instead, let's look at our full-time real estate professionals. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be a real estate agent. It could be a real estate investor. It could be a property manager. It could be a real estate agent. There's all kinds of of people that qualify for full-time real estate professional status. That said, what was said was, look, let's create what is called accelerated or bonus depreciation. Now, this is where it gets crazy. So what they said was, instead of our real estate professionals having to wait 27 and a half years to get that tax deduction, we trust them, right? We think that they're going to do a better job with this. They're probably less likely to get foreclosed on. So why don't we do this? Why don't we let them speed up the process and take more deduction sooner? So what they said was, we're going to let them take 81.9% of that in years 1 to 15, most of that in year 1. Wait, what? So what does that really mean? So in 2022, when this took effect, 2022, I could get 100% of this benefit, which means that I could accelerate 100% of that $400,000. I could accelerate in years 1 to 15. Now, here's where it gets really crazy. What that means is I could buy that house for $500,000, put my $100,000 down, and year 1, day 1, I've literally got between $145,000 and $185,000 tax deduction. What that means is I would save north of $75,000 in taxes I won't pay year 1 because I bought that house. Are you freaking kidding me? I want you to think about this, guys. I'm saving that year 1, and then year 2, I'm saving like 17.5 for from years 2 to 5. From years 6 to 10, I'm saving like 12 something. And then from years 6 to 15. And then from year 15 on, I got to take whatever's left over the 27 and a half years. Guys, what this means is like you're taking these massive tax sections very, very early in this process. And when you think about the time value of money, this is ridiculous. This is huge. Huge savings, right? Sorry, nod to the guy that came up with this, Mr. Trump there. Anyway, again, like him, love him, hate him. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on. I'm just grateful this exists, all right? Now, watch this. The downside is you got to be a full-time real estate professional to qualify for this, right? This is a big deal. But you can use that to write off your active income. So if you have a $70,000 tax bill, literally year 1, you could not have to pay that $70,000. Now, here's what your weak CPAs will tell you. Like if you're using H&R Block or some of these guys that really I don't think are very good, then guess what? They're going to tell you, oh, you don't want to take that deduction because what happens if you sell the house in 5 years? Now what? Guys, you're going to need to be able to have this conversation with your clients, okay? So understand this. If you were to turn around and sell that house in 5 years, you have to do something called depreciation recapture. Okay. Now, what that means is that you would have to pay back that benefit, that $75,000 you took back. You'd have to pay that back if you sold it in, 5 or 10 years or whatever, right? Sort of true. There's two ways to avoid this. Okay. So watch this, write this down. What are the two ways you can avoid ever having to pay depreciation recapture? Type it into the chat. Who knows? Oh, look at that. AJ's on it. I love you, AJ. You're a good man. Paul's on it. I love it. It's a 1030. You could Paul got them both. It's a 1031 tax deferred exchange, or just die, right? I know that sounds crazy, but the 1031 is great because the 1031 you can just roll that into the next property, right? Very simple to do that. Now, when we say just die, how many of us are going to die? We're all going to die, right? All of us are going to die. And so when we do, what's interesting is when we give that to our kids, they don't have to pay the depreciation recapture. In fact, they get what's called a stepped up basis. Now, what is a stepped up basis? A stepped up basis essentially means that $500,000 house, by the time I die, it's probably what, $2 million, let's say. So now my kids get to redepreciate the property from the new $2 million value, and they get all those tax benefits again. Are you kidding me? Guys, this is huge. Like, this is the holy grail. I'm telling you right now, you guys got to learn this, guys. This is such a big deal. Now, again, I'll go deeper on this. I will say, I'll go deeper on this in that JV Partner Zoom call if you guys want to join me on that. But understand this, the Democrats wanted this to go away at one point, and so there was a sunset period built into this. Now, in this big, beautiful bill they've got coming out, that sunset period goes away. In fact, assuming it passes the way it's written currently and the way it passed Congress, is that it will be retroactive to January 19th, 2025. So what that means is anything you bought January 19th of this year or later, all the way up until December 31st, 2023, 2030, then guess what? You're going to get to take 100% depreciation on that, 100% accelerated depreciation. Guys, this is such a big deal. There is no excuse for a real estate agent to be paying taxes today. In fact, watch this. If I could get you 100% of the taxes back that you've paid in the last 3 years, would you consider coaching with me? I would assume that some of you would, right? And watch this. Get me on a call with you and your CPA. And if your CPA sucks, then I'll get you on a call with me and my CPA. Guys, I will help you get that money back. Okay. Now, it won't be possible for all of you, but many of you should be able to get back all or at least most of the taxes you paid in the last 3 years if you own any rental properties at all. And if you don't, then by golly, let's get buying them right now so that you no longer pay any taxes going forward for at least the conceivable near future. All right. Now, really quick, I want to talk to you guys about generational wealth, and then we're going to talk about building your real estate sales empire. All right, here we go. Generational wealth. If you have kids, type in kids in the chat. I want to see how many parents I got. Okay. If you got kids, type in kids in the chat. Oh my gosh, that went fast. Look at all these parents. We got lots of parents in there. Oh my, Hannah. Okay. 4 kids and 2 grandkids. Holy Hannah. All right. So check this out. So there are 3. I'm sorry. Let's start with this. There's 5 stages in building wealth. Write these 5 stages down. Okay. There's 5 stages in building wealth: struggle, survival, success, significance, legacy. Struggle, survival, success, significance, legacy. Struggle, survival, success, significance, legacy. Okay. All right. All right. And I don't know the answer to that on the Quebec taxes, but I'll tell you what I'll do. If you will reach out to me privately afterwards, send me a direct message on Facebook. I will find that answer for you. We've got lots of clients in Quebec that invest in real estate, and actually all over Canada for that matter. All right. That being said, struggle, survival, success, significance, legacy. Here we go. Struggle is when my passive income is less than my expenses every month. Struggle is when my passive income is less than my expenses every month. Write that down. Okay, that's where most people in the world live today. Survival is where my passive income is equal to or greater than my expenses every month. Okay, I'll give it to you one more time. Survival is where my passive income is equal to or greater than my expenses every month. This is what Robert Kiyosaki calls getting out of the rat race. Okay. Getting out of the rat race. Now, that's great, but I think it's just barely surviving. Now, success is when we learn to live on less than 30% of our passive income each month. Now, if you're first generation wealthy, you could replace that number with 70%. Okay. So if you did not inherit money, and I'm going to assume that most of you didn't, then I want to see most of you living on less than 70% of what you make. Okay. Particularly in your passive income. Now, write this down. I want you guys to read a book. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. Okay. Great book. It'll change your life. I promise. Okay. Thank you for that, Camille. All right. Now watch this. I'm going to show you how the Hellickson family builds true generational wealth. So we took a lesson from the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts, right? Back in their day, the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts were each the wealthiest families of their time. The Vanderbilts, what they did is they said, hey, we got this pot of money. And what we're going to do is when we die, you're going to get a piece of it, you're going to get a piece of it, and you're going to get a piece of it. And they gave it all out. And it literally, within 2 generations, that entire fortune was gone because everybody wasted the money, right? They didn't know what to do with it. Within 2 generations, it was wiped out. The Rockefellers, on the other hand, they said, oh no, we're going to do it different. So the Rockefellers said, here's this pot of money. And when we die, you don't get it. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to make that pot of money make more money. Okay. We're going to keep 100% of it in there and it's just going to make money, make money, make money, make money. Then what we're going to do is we're going to give you a piece of the cash flow and you a piece of the cash flow and you a piece of the cash flow. And that fortune still feeds 200 families today. Okay. Now watch this. I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay. The Hellickson family, we're doing the same thing. Now my kids, okay, they're second generation wealthy, right? And so their expectation is to live on less than 30% of what they make in passive cash flow. Okay. But let's start with this. They both do very well. My son is a real estate agent. Some of you probably know him. In fact, if you guys know Austin, type Austin in the chat. I'm curious how many people on here know who Austin is. Austin's my son. He's the #1 listing agent on the planet right now. Last year, he's 23 years old. He listed 164 houses last year himself, not counting his team. That's just him. Look at all you guys know Austin. That's awesome. I'm stoked to see that. He's a great guy, Sherman. I can't wait for you to meet him. And so that being said, Austin obviously does very well, makes good money, right? But he doesn't take good money. I don't know his Instagram. Camille, could you put his Instagram in there? I think there's some people who'd like to follow him on social media. And so if you want to put that in there, that'd be awesome. That being said, Austin takes a 60, and so does Madison. Madison obviously does very well in mortgage, right? So they each take a $67,000 salary out of their respective companies, right? Not a big salary, it's low salary. But then they also get 10% of the profit from their companies, okay? Now, why is that important? Because that gives them the incentive because, hey, look, if I work harder, I'm going to make more money. I'll have more money to spend today. But that leaves 70%, right? So watch this. So we take that 10% out. Sorry, it leaves 90%. And then there's another 10% that rolls up to Club Wealth because they use a ton of infrastructure in Club Wealth and a ton of resources in Club Wealth. But then, but by the way, when you guys are coaching with us, you only pay us a monthly fee, so don't even sweat it, right? And you don't pay us anywhere near what Austin Madison have to pay. That said, that leaves 80%. And what we do is we take that 80% of their profit, okay, that's 80% of the profit from their businesses, and that dumps into a family business. Okay. Now this is important. And you guys should draw this on your page, by the way. If you've got a blank piece of paper, I'm going to recommend you draw this. Okay. That family business, as soon as it has enough money in it, it goes out and it buys these, right? It buys houses. Okay. Now those houses, they kick off cash flow. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Remember, because my kids are second generation wealthy, they take 70% of that positive cash flow and they dump it back into the family business. That leaves 30% of the passive income that gets to be spent by the family. Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting. First of all, if you're first generation wealthy, if we're talking about for you, you're going to put 30% here and 70% here. So flip those numbers, okay? For first generation wealthy, you'll flip those numbers. But for our family, this is what it looks like because our kids are second generation wealthy. All right, now what this is called is the flywheel effect. What this means is that it is constantly making more money faster than we're spending it. Okay, and I'll tell you right now, everybody that's on this call, you can all accomplish this in your lifetime for your family. And it only takes one person to forever change the financial future for your family. It only takes one. I'm that guy for my family. I have a hunch that you are that person for yours. If you are, type in I am. If you're the person for your family that's going to change that financial future for your family forever, type the words I am in the chat. Oh, look at all you guys. Good for you. Look at that. That's awesome. I like that. I like the confidence in that. When you type that in, doesn't it feel good? Because you're like, dude, I'm that guy for my family, or I'm that girl for my family. I'm making this freaking happen. No matter what, I'm going to leave my family better than I found it. I'm going to leave them in a better financial position than I came into, right? Now, make sure there's education behind that. Remember, the two best ways to screw up our kids are one, just give them money with no education and no work attached to it, no skin in the game, or two, solve their problems for them, right? Don't do those things, right? We don't want to screw up our kids. All right, so that being said, this is the diagram of success. Now, significance is even interesting, more interesting. And this is the third way to avoid paying federal income tax. Watch this. When we talk about accelerated depreciation and straight line depreciation, those are middle class tax benefits, okay? That's to save the middle class. But watch how the upper class do it. This is how people in the wealthy class avoid paying taxes. First of all, they don't take this 30% in income down here. They dump that back into the family business as well. So 100% of all the passive cash flow and 100% of all their active income is being dumped into that family business to go buy more rental properties, okay, and more real estate. That's what they do. So watch this. What if they need money? They gotta make their house payment, or they gotta buy a car, or they want to go on vacation, or whatever. Where do they get money? Here's how they do it. If you know the answer, type it into the chat. I'm curious if anybody knows the answer, but it's very simple. They borrow it, right? Because guess what you don't pay taxes on? Borrowed money. So where do they borrow it from? They borrow from their portfolio. Okay, so this is where this gets crazy. Significance is when you can live on, if you're first generation, 70, or if you're second generation, less than 30% of the passive growth of your portfolio. What does that mean? If I have a $10 million portfolio and it goes up at 5%, that's $500,000 in tax-free dollars I could take out every year, tax-free. Now, if I'm living on, let's say, 70% of that, right? So there's $300,000 I'm going to be able to take out, live on it. I'm going to take the other two. I'm going to go back and I'm going to buy more real estate with it and keep this growing even faster. And then all of a sudden, my percentage that I'm living on grows exponentially year over year over year over year. And some of you are thinking, well, how do we make the payments on those rental properties? Well, the rentals are making the payments, right? Because they're cash flowing. That's one of the things, by the way, write this down, guys. Cash flow or not at all. Cash flow or not at all. When you buy real estate, make freaking sure that it cash flows. I cannot stress this enough. I've watched people lose as many as 600. Actually, I watched a builder lose 700 properties, but I've seen investors lose as many as 600 properties at one time. And yes, Paul, that borrowed money does need to be paid back. But guess what? My rents are going up as well. So guess what's paying that borrowed money back? It's my rents. And that's why I'm careful to ensure that as I do this, I never borrow more money than I can meet those rules that I gave you earlier. As long as it'll meet my arbitrage rules, my equity rules, and my 1% rule, as long as I can make all my rules work, I can still take as much as I want out of my properties tax free. It's such a big deal. And then they'll pay for themselves, right? All right, they'll make the payment. Great stuff. So there you go, guys. Now the final one, that fifth stage in building wealth, is legacy. Okay, now Legacy is when you're doing all of the stuff I just described and you're teaching other people how to do it as well. People often ask me, Michael, why do you even still do this? Well, first of all, because my wife would probably kill me if I just hung out at the house all the time. She'd probably get sick of having me around so much. But the real reason is I'm going to have grandkids at some point. I'll have great grandkids at some point, and I want them to have a great America. And I feel a real responsibility, as should you, by the way, that where much is given, much is expected, right? I've been given a lot in my life. My wife and I, my family and I, we've been very, very blessed. And I'm telling you, if we don't teach you how to do this and you don't do it and then go teach other people how to do it and get them to do it and then get them to teach other people how to do it, then the American dream is going to go away. Okay. And BlackRock will own it all. And I don't want that to happen. I want my grandkids to have a bite of the American dream. I want your grandkids to have a chance at the American dream. So we got to be teaching the people that come after us how to do this stuff. All right. One of the greatest experiences I ever had, I was at the Pike Place Market, and a guy that I had done business with, I sold this guy some rental properties back, I don't know, gosh, 25 years ago, something like that. And he came up to me in the Pike Place Market and tearfully was just thanking me for having helped him change his life because he invested in these real estate, these rental properties. And now he gets to spend 100% of his time with his kids and his grandkids because he bought some rental properties from me back in the day. Guys, I want you to have experiences like that. All right. So that brings us to the next piece. All right. We're going to talk about making money selling real estate. You guys ready for this? This is, I'm telling you right now, guys, it's so simple, and yet so many people miss this. Okay. So make sure you're taking good notes. There's three things you can do if you want to make money selling real estate. Understand this. For a long time, for 5.5 years, I was the number one real estate agent on planet Earth. Okay, I was, and back then, we were doing 120 to 180 transactions a month. That was a lot back then. Now, there's a lot of people. No, I shouldn't say a lot. There are 38 people last year did over 1,000 transactions. So 38 teams last year did over 1,000 transactions last year. That's really good, right? The number is growing, by the way, every year. And so, and by the way, teams are where it's at. I mean, you can be a solo agent if you want. And certainly, I'm going to teach you strategies today that you can implement, whether you're a team member, team leader, solo agent, doesn't matter. I'm going to teach you strategies today that'll work in all those scenarios. Here's what I am going to tell you, though. The fastest path to cash, the shortest learning curve, is generally being a member of a team. So, something to consider. All right. Now, that being said, there are only three things that are going to move the needle in your business. Write these down. Lead generation. Okay. I don't care how great your service is. If you're not generating leads, you're out of business. Okay. You can only service the leads that you have, right? So we got to have lead generation, lead follow up, and lead conversion. That's it. These are the three things. And here's the thing, that should make up 90% of your day. And by the way, the type of lead generation you do is going to depend a lot on where you are going, or where you're at in the market right now. So example, there's 7 tiers in real estate. Write this down. Write down tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, all the way down to tier 7. I'll give you the definition of each. Okay. You need to understand what tier you're in, and I need to know who's watching today so I can see what I need to teach for the next hour or hour and a half, somewhere in there. All right. So write this down. Tier 1 is agents that close 0 to 25 transactions per year. Tier 1 is agents that close 0 to 25 transactions per year. Tier 2 is 25 to 75. Tier 3 is 75 to 150. Tier 4 is 150 to 250. Tier 5 is 250 to 500. Tier 6 is 500 to 1,000. Tier 7 is 1,000 units per year and more. I'll give it to you one more time. Tier 1 is 0 to 25. Tier 2 is 25 to 7. Oh, there you go. Camille just put it in the chat. Can you put that in the Facebook as well, Camille? That way I don't have to repeat it. That'll help us go faster. Thank you, Camille. All right, so there you go. She's put it in the chat. Now, what I need to know is I need everybody to type into the chat, what tier are you in? Because I'm going to teach the rest of this based on who's on the call. And Camille, I'm going to need you to let me know kind of what we've got on the Facebook feed. I want to know what tiers they're in as well. Okay, so far I'm seeing a lot of tier 1s and tier 2s. Okay, keep typing. I'd love to get everybody to type this in if you could. Tier 1s, tier 2s, tier 1s, a lot of tier 1s, some tier 2s. Hey, we got one of Francis Mackay's team members here. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Are you going to be at the event tomorrow? Hopefully I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'm actually in the Sheraton Hotel right now. Can you tell where I'm at where the event's being held? That's funny. All right, a lot of tier 1s. All right, yeah, rise up. It's going to be an amazing event tomorrow. It's going to be a great full day event. All right, now watch this, guys. So if I'm in tier 1 or tier 2, let's just start with this. Because and by the way, Camille, could you do me a favor and tell me what's predominantly? There we go. It's Facebook is tier 1, tier 2. How many tier 3s we got on the Facebook feed there, Camille? Do we have very many of those, or is it mostly tier 1 and tier 2? All right. Camille's letting me know. She's direct messaging me here. All right. Mostly tier one and two. Okay, good. So watch this. If I'm in tier one and tier two, I have more time than money. If you agree with that, type yes into the chat. Okay. If you agree that tier one and tier two, I've got predominantly more time than money, right? Okay. So guess what we don't do in tier one and tier two? We're not going to go spend a bunch of money on freaking leads. It doesn't make any sense, right? I'm not going to go buy Zillow leads when I'm barely able to make my mortgage payment. There's no sense in that. Okay. And so we want to write this down. Lead with profit. Lead with profit. I cannot stress this enough, guys. We need to make sure that we're leading with profit at all times. It's not okay to just lead with revenue. We got to lead with actual profit. Now, what do I do in tier one and tier two? And by the way, even into tier three, I'm still doing these things. I'm just adding, like when I get into tier three, and I know there's a couple of tier threes watching right now, even when I get into tier three, guys, I'm still going to do the tier one and tier two stuff. I'm just adding in some paid lead sources, okay? And I'm going to give you a whole bunch of lead sources in just a minute, okay? But before I give you the lead sources, let's first talk about the 5 things that I do when I'm in tier one or tier two that don't cost me a lot of money, that just cost me time. Each one of these 5 things can easily bring me literally whatever my average sales price is. I can get that much in gross commission income in the next 12 months with any one of these 5 things, working just 22 and a half hours per week. Super, super simple. Okay. And by the way, AJ, you're totally right, man. The information is like, this stuff has worked for decades. Now, don't get me wrong, there's tools that we use, right? We use the internet, we use AI, we use, different dialer softwares. There's all kinds of things we can do to make these things more efficient today than they were a decade ago or even 5 years ago, right? But the principles themselves have changed very little if you really think. I mean, think about all this. Watch this. Here's the 5 things. Write these down. FSBOs, expireds, cold calls, open houses, sphere of influence. FSBOs, expireds, cold calls, open houses, sphere of influence. And by the way, I see somebody typed in door knocking, and yeah, sure, you can do well door knocking, but I'll be honest with you, these 5 are way more effective, okay? FSBOs, expireds, cold calls, open houses, sphere of influence. Now watch this. Eventually, when I get into tiers 3 and higher, I'm going to focus on other things, and I'm probably going to be doing more lead follow-up than lead generation. Probably won't need to do a lot of lead generation because my lead generation will be on autopilot by the time I get into tiers 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. But in tiers 1 and 2, I've got to really get in that grind. I got to pick up that phone. I got to go out and do the open house. I got to do all the stuff to talk to people, et cetera. All right. So of all those things I mentioned, what is the number one most effective, efficient way to get money the fastest? Type that in. If I need a check in the next 60 to 90 days, what's the fastest method of the 5 that I just mentioned? What's the fastest one that's going to get me money right now? Oh, so far I've got answers all over the board. Okay, keep typing them. Let's see what you got. Oh my gosh, look at this. I got open houses, I got sphere of influence, I got expireds, I got FSBOs, I got all of them, right? Okay. Well, those of you that answered open houses, you were correct. And let me tell you why. Open houses right now are on fire. All over the country, open houses are crushing it. Now, here's the key with open houses. You should be getting, in fact, type this in. How many people did you guys get out to your last open house? Type in a number into the chat. I want to see how many of you guys got into your last open house. And Paul, I love your testimonial there. Paul says, open houses rock. Use the Club Wealth method. I love it. That's awesome. Okay, look at this. I'm seeing 5, 2, 10, 10, 3. Okay, so keep typing in. How many people did you get to your last open house? 7. Okay, so watch this. You should be getting a minimum of 25 to 150 people out to each open house. Paul uses our system. Paul says, I had 30 people. I'm reading Paul's chat in that private message to me here. I had 30 people sold in 2 days. Huge testimony with neighbors who want to list. Boom! That's what I'm talking about, Paul. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Guys, this is what it should look like. You should get 25 to 150 people out to every open house. I'm going to show you exactly how right now. Okay. First and foremost, with my open houses, I want to pick the right house. Do not pick entry-level houses. Why in the world would I pick an entry-level house when I can pick a move-up house, right? First of all, I'd rather work at a higher price point. Now, I'm not going to do luxury, right? Because I want to make sure I'm getting a quantity of business. If I need money to roll in fast, luxury is slower, right? But I'll tell you, the move up market, that's going to be a very fast moving market. That's going to be a place where I can get money right away. Not only that, but because I'm in a move up market, they probably have a house to sell, which means I get two bites at every apple. This is a very, very, very big deal, guys. Okay, next, I want to make sure that the house is no more than a half mile to a mile of a major shopping center. Okay, I want it to be fairly close to major shopping. Why? Traffic. I want to get as much traffic as possible. Okay, it makes a big difference. All right, next, I want to make sure that I'm no more than two turns off the main road, okay? Because I want to make it easy for people to find. And then this one's crazy. There's four ways that we really focus on, and there's more than this. I'm going to give you the main four ways that we drive traffic to our open houses, okay? And if you guys remember what they are, feel free to type them into the chat. I'm going to start with number four. Number four is I'm going to make sure that I'm doing all my online marketing. This is going to be my social media, my Realtor.com, Zillow, all the different places I'm going to market it online. That's one. That's number four. Okay. And the reason why it's not number one is because I don't want you guys focused just on that. That's what everybody wants to do because it's easy because they can have their assistant do that, right? But the next things, number two and number three, they're very closely related. A couple of you have mentioned this already. Is door knocking and calling through that entire neighborhood. Okay, so I'm going to knock the whole neighborhood. I'm going to call the whole neighborhood. Okay, that's very effective. That's number two and number three. And then finally, the number one thing that you can do. Oh, I like this. It's signs, guys. You need to write this down. How many signs should you have for your open house? Type in the chat. How many signs do you think you should have for open houses? Look at all the big numbers here. Now watch this. How many signs do you normally have for your open houses? Type that in because I bet it's two different numbers. Oh my gosh, look at the difference of the numbers. Holy cow. Okay, so everybody's typing in on how many they've been doing. They're typing in 3, 5, 6, 10, whatever, right? But the people that were typing in, when you guys were typing in how many should you have, I was seeing 25, 50. Both are correct, guys. You need to have 50 plus signs for every open house. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, but Michael, that won't work in my market because the city will take my signs, right? Okay, first of all, so what? Okay, yeah, you're right. Everybody says, that won't work in my market. Look, if you don't think it's going to work in your market, then it won't. But if you think it will, it will. Remember what Gerald, oh my gosh, Henry Ford. Remember what Henry Ford said. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And so guess what, guys? It will work, okay? I'll promise you right now, you need to put 50 signs out for every open house. And watch this. If they take it, and by the way, I like what Paul just said. He said, look, I love it when the neighbors come up to me and say, man, why are you putting out so many open houses? You're putting way too many signs up, blah, 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 blah. And he gets to explain, well, yeah, guess what? That's me going the extra mile. Would you like me to go the extra mile for you too? Right? That's a great conversation starter. But here's the thing, guys. If they take your signs, who cares? Boo freaking who? What do the signs cost, right? I mean, think about this. If a sign is like what, $5, for the sign and the stake, right? I'm not doing A boards. I'm not doing 50 A boards, right? So if I'm into this thing $5 and they take 50 of my signs, that's $250. Heck, some of you spend more than that in Starbucks in a month. I mean, come on, right? And so, very seriously, guys, put those signs up and then put on 25% of your signs. I want you to have two balloons blowing in the wind on 25% of your signs or more. I know that sounds really dumb and really old school, but guys, it actually works. And it's a very cheap way to get business right now. Okay. The question was asked, well, Michael, when do you put them up? Do you put them up same day, day before? If I'm allowed to, I'll put them up the day before. If I'm not allowed to, I'll start putting them up an hour before. Okay. What cracks me up is most agents, they'll put 3, 4, 5, they'll spend 5 minutes putting 3, 4, 5 signs up. And then they spend 3 or 4 hours or, let's say even 2 or 3 hours sitting in a house hoping somebody's going to show up. What you ought to do is spend an hour putting up signs, maybe even an hour and 15 minutes putting up signs, and then go spend 2 hours in the house and get a ton of traffic, make a bunch of money. Okay. Watch this. We've got a guy, one of our coaches, his name's Josh Moore, great guy. It's also a pastor on the side, by the way. Great guy, super good real estate agent. And what he does is he gets literally an average of 45 people out to each one of his open houses. Now he's coming out. We're going to have an event coming up in San Antonio, Texas in September. He's going to be teaching an open house class there. It's 45 minutes. And he's going to not only walk through how to get more people out to the open house, but he's also going to show you when they come into the house, exactly what do you do to get them to work with you, right? How do I get them to actually engage? How do I follow up with them? How do I get them actually working with me when they show up there? That's the key, right? When you learn that and you combine that with holding the massive open houses, game over, you're off to the races. All right, now, next, let's talk about sphere of influence, okay? And by the way, when it comes to days to hold open houses, 7 days a week, guys. You should be holding open houses all the time. Clearly, you're going to get the most traffic on Saturday and Sunday, but don't let that dissuade you from holding midweek open houses. All right, let's talk sphere of influence really quick. So I love sphere of influence business, and I want you to write down. In fact, type into the chat here how many people are in your sphere of influence. And by definition, that means if I taught them how and reminded them, I'm pretty confident they would either do business with me or maybe refer me at some point. How many people do you think you have in your database that meet that definition? Type it into the chat. Now, I'll tell you the national average is 250. Now, keep in mind, this is going to include everybody you went to school with, people that came to your wedding, people that you go to church with. How many do you have in your sphere? Type it into the chat. I'm just curious how many you guys have. I got everything from 30 to I got 100, 1100, 200. I lost count. All right, good. So, guys, here's the thing. Your true sphere is about 300. Okay, that's good. I got that. All right. So here's the deal. I would be willing to bet that for the vast majority of you, whatever number of people you have in your sphere, you're probably doing less than 10% of that number in referral-based transactions each year. Here's the problem. You should be doing north of 20% of that number. So you're like, let's say your sphere of influence is 250. You're probably doing less than 25 deals a year by referral. But what you should be doing with a 250 person sphere is north of 50 transactions per year by referral. And I'm going to show you how, okay? And you don't have to do Popeyes and all that other nonsense, okay? You don't need to deliver recipe cards and plants and all this other stuff to people, okay? You don't have to do that. You don't have to mail out, the recipe of the week and all that garbage. Like, you don't have to do that, okay? There's other things you can do that are more effective and easier. Write this down. The first thing I want you to do is 4 client events per year. Write that down. 4 client events per year. No matter what, you got to do 4 client events per year. Now, they don't have to be fancy, okay? You could be doing a barbecue in your backyard, and you can have your checkers plan lender bring the freaking hot dogs, okay? Super simple. What do I mean by checkers plan lender? I mean, your lender doesn't, your local lender doesn't have to be the sharpest tool in the shed, okay? They just have to be able to get vanilla loans done for a good price, right? Like, they're kind of a commodity, frankly. You'll use you do need to have a second lender who's a baller, right? Somebody who can get the hard stuff done, somebody to send your garbage to. That's where I recommend Madison, right? And she hates it when I say this, but send her your garbage. Next time you got a deal that your lender can't get done, send it to Madison. See what happens. She'll get it done. But your local lender needs to just bring hot dogs. I don't even care if they bring hamburgers. It doesn't need to be anything expensive. Just a little barbecue in your backyard. You can do all kinds of other stuff like photos of Santa, Easter egg hunts. There's lots of different things you can do for client events. Don't overcomplicate this, okay? It's just about the fact that you're having a client event. Now, that's 4 days per year for the actual client events themselves. 3 weeks before the event, what do you think I want you to do? Type it into the comments in Facebook. Type it into your chat here. What do you think I want you to do 3 weeks before the event? Okay. All right. This is okay. Look at that. I'm seeing email clients, send out an invitation on an invite, promote the event online, those kinds of things. Okay. Call everyone in your database. Oh, there it is. There's the answer, right? I know you guys are going to do all the other stuff. You're going to call, you're going to text, you're going to email, you're going to put it on social media. You're going to send us an email. You're going to do all this marketing. But guess what most agents won't do? They won't pick up the phone and actually call and talk to people. Guess where the money is? It's when you pick up the phone and actually call and talk to people. Guys, the people that make the most money in this business are the agents who do what others either can't or won't. That's who makes the most money. Be that person, be that girl, right? All right, so watch this. When I call them, what do I say? What do I tell these people in my sphere of influence? I'm 3 weeks before my client event. What do I tell them? I'm not going to, and by the way, if I invite them to the event, that's better than 99% of the agents out there, because guess what 99% of the agents won't even do? They won't even make the call, right? And so get this, make the call, but when you do, don't even bring up the event. Don't even talk to them about real estate. In fact, the worst thing you can do is talk to them about real estate right now, unless they bring it up, okay? But watch this. What I am going to do is BROT. BROT. What does that stand for? That's building relationships on trust. Building relationships on trust. Write that down. Now, here's the deal, guys. Have you ever heard that people need to know, like, and trust you to do business with you? It's true, right? No, it's actually not true. In fact, people don't need to like you to do business with you. I'll give you a great example. Did you necessarily like your attorney? Do you necessarily like your used car dealer? I mean, come on, seriously, people don't have to like you to do business with you, but they do need to trust you. Now, here's something I want you to consider. Think about this. If you've ever been on a listing appointment, what are the three things a seller cares about? And guys, I've been on over 10,000 listing appointments. I can tell you right now that there's only three things they care about. And you and I, we aren't one of them. What are the things? Okay, there we go. I got it. Who's that? Who typed that in? Andre. So we got one is, okay, who's going to give me the most amount of money in the least amount of time? What's the third one, guys? With the least amount of headache to me. Most money, least time, least headache. Write those three things down. Most time, most money, least time, least headache. They don't care about anything else. What cracks me up is most of you guys, you're going into a listing appointment, for example, trying to get them to like you. Stop trying to get them to like you. It doesn't matter. What they need to do is trust you. All right. The same thing is true with our sphere of influence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call them up. I'm going to build that relationship on trust. And I'm going to do it by using the Ford technique. Now, what is the Ford technique? Okay. And I'm not talking about found on road dead. Okay. And for those of you that drive a Ford, what am I talking about here? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. I did it again. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Okay. Now, here's the deal, guys. You're going to ask them open-ended questions about their family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Get them doing 90% of the talking. That's all you got to do. They will think you're a genius. They are going to think you're the best person on the planet, the nicest person in the world. Why? Because you let them talk about them. And people love talking about them, right? And so let's see. Look at this. I'm reading Chris's comment. Once I stopped trying to, with them over my meetings, went so much smoother and faster with less objections. Oh, well, you're saying once you stop trying to get, to win them over. Yeah. So once you stop trying to get them to like you, all of a sudden your meetings went smoother and were easier and you had better results, right? I get that. And I believe that a lot because now they trust you. The problem is when you go in trying to get them to like you, you look like eager puppy, right? And nobody wants to work with eager puppy. Okay. All right. Now watch this. So I go in, I'm having this conversation with them about their family, occupation, recreation, dreams. They're beginning to trust me, right? And now here's what's going to happen. At some point, they might bring up real estate. Great. You can talk all the real estate you want when they do it, but don't you dare talk real estate unless they do first. In fact, the worst thing you can possibly do is have a great conversation with somebody and then say something stupid at the end of the conversation like, oh, by the way, if you were thinking of buying or selling a home or had a friend or family member who was, do you have a realtor you'd refer them to? Guys, I don't care how great your cheesy Irish accent is. That is the worst, most self-serving script on planet Earth. It is horrible. I love it. Susan's like, I hate that script. Me too. Why? Because what did you just tell them? What you just tell them and told them is, look, man, I don't really care about you. I just care about me, and I just want to get mine, right? That's terrible, guys. Watch this. People don't care what you know until they know that you type it in the chat. What's the last word? People don't care what you know until they know that you, that's exactly right, care. And watch this, guys. The best way to show somebody that you care is to what? Actually care. You'd be amazed at how easy it is to show somebody that you care when you just actually care. They'll see it, they'll feel it, right? You don't have to tell them. You just show them through your actions and through actually caring for them, all right? So do not use that script, all right? Instead, use the Ford technique. Do not ever say, oh, by the way, all that garbage, okay? Stop that. All right, now, any questions on that? So that's the call 3 weeks before the event. Now, the week after the event, I want you to call everybody in your sphere of influence again. And the ones that showed up, you're going to say, hey, it was really good to see you at the event. I'm sorry we didn't get to spend more time together. Let's spend more time together at the next one. Won't that be great? Fantastic, right? Now, the ones that did not show up, Write down this. All I want you to say the following. Just write this down. It's very simple. Okay. I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you. I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you. I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you. That is all you have to do. Okay. That's it. That's all you got to do. All right. Now, watch this. If you've ever received a phone call from somebody that said, hey, I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you, type in yes in the chat. I want to see how many of you have ever gotten a phone call that said, I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you. Now, watch this. If you still remember who called you to say that, type in remember in the chat. If you still remember the person who made that call to you, type it. Look at all the remembers. I got a ton of remembers coming in here. Guys, this is awesome. Think about this. And I'll bet not only did you remember them, but I'll bet you felt like you trusted them more afterwards. Guys, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about really, truly building relationships on trust. Now you're building a sphere of influence that's solid and that will pay you dividends for decades to come. Remember this, guys. The most valuable thing you have is your reputation. The second most valuable thing that you have is the relationships that you build with everybody out there. Guys, I'm telling you right now, this is how it's done. All right. So great stuff. Now, when it comes to lead generation, guys, there's all kinds of different lead sources. I don't have time to go into all of them right now. What I'm going to do though is I want you to grab your cell phone and I want you to, because I want to give you a list. Okay. And I'm going to give you a list of, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you 31 of my favorite lead sources. If you wait until the seminar is over, I'll still give you 17. But if you do it right now while we're on the call, I will give you 31 of my favorite lead sources. Camille, could you type this into the chat for us, please, so everybody can see it? I'm going to have you send the words Club Wealth, send a text message with words Club Wealth, 2 words, capital C, capital W. Send that to 727-287-5993. I'll give it to you again. 727-287-5993. You'll see Camille just put it in the chat. Camille, if you could put that in the Facebook feed also, I'd appreciate that. And by the way, could you guys give a little Camille a shout out there? Just say "Go Camille" or something like that in the chat. Isn't she awesome? Camille's one of our team members. She lives in the Philippines. Love her to death. She's been with us for a number of years now, and honestly, one of the greatest team members we've ever had. Thank you, Camille, for all your help. I appreciate it. Okay, so that being said, send that. Now, here's the other thing. If you're going to call FSBOs and expireds, and by the way, they both work. They're both fantastic lead sources. I know people that list a lot of homes, and I'm talking 60, 70 homes a year just with expireds or just with FSBOs. Either one of them can work very, very well. If you're going to call those, however, it is very, very, very important that you not use your cell phone to call them, okay? Why? Because you will get spammed out. It's not if, it's when. And so what that means is when you're calling somebody, you're going to show up as spam likely on their caller ID. We don't want to show up as spam likely on their caller ID. Instead, what's really important is, and by the way, you might even get ghosted. Let's back up. That's even worse. What ghosting is when I call them and I hear it ring on my end, but on their end, it's not ringing. That's ghosting. And the carriers do that to block spammers. Okay. So how do we get around that? We use a system called Prospect Boss. Prospect Boss. And by the way, Camille, if you could give a shout out to Gary Prado and the Facebook feed, if you would do that for me, maybe tag Gary in there if you're able to. Gary Prado is my buddy that owns Prospect Boss. Great platform. I have at any given time 35 to 75 of my own inside sales agents using that software calling because what that software does is it makes it so you're not going to show up as spam likely and you're not going to be ghosted as well. Really good software. So it helps you connect with a lot more people for every hour of calls you're making. Okay. Now remember, guys, any one of those 5 things, FSBOs, expireds, cold calls, open houses, sphere of influence, any one of those 5, 22 and a half hours a week. And really the 22 and a half hours a week, you only need to make calls to those people 20 hours a week. If you'll do 20 hours a week of calls to those 5 groups, each of those 5 groups should be able to kick off whatever your average sales price is in annual gross commission income. All right, now it's time to move on. As important as lead generation is, you know what's even more important? It's lead follow-up. Okay, now I want to talk to you about lead follow-up for a second. Oh, and actually, let me give you a quick, real quick. There's a couple of paid sources. There's one in particular I want to give you. If you're not already using it, I want you to use leadsLikeCandy.com, leadsLikeCandy.com. Camille just typed that into the chat as well. LeadsLikeCandy.com. If you're like tier two, like upper tier one, lower tier two, it's time to look at leadsLikeCandy.com. It's very affordable. It's a cash offer lead source. You can get a lot of leads for not a lot of money. And some people say, oh, those leads suck. No, 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 no. You freaking suck. I got news for you. What's a lead? A lead is somebody who's raised their hand and said, look, I'm interested in buying or selling a home now or in the future. Fantastic. Great, right? That's all you need. Now you just got to nurture them over a long period of time. I don't care if you buy today or 10 years from now, as long as it's for me, right? I don't care if you sell now or 10 years from now, as long as it's with me. Okay. So we want to start filling our pipeline with people that are going to pay off long term. Now, I will tell you the average lead in there is going to be an 18 to 24 month closing, right? That's so great. Are you guys going to need closings in 18 to 24 months? Yes, I would assume so. Okay. So it's a great affordable lead source that can really bring a lot of new people into your pipeline. Okay. All right, now let's get to lead follow-up. There's two rules for lead follow-up you need to follow. Number one is speed to lead. Speed to lead. How quickly do you get to your leads? And I'm going to tell you the answer has to be less than 30 seconds. If you are waiting more than 30 seconds to pick up the phone and call a lead that comes in, you're missing out. And by the way, and yes, those particular leads are, I believe, they're US only. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that particular lead source is US only. The leadslikecandy.com. Thank you for the clarification of the question. How many of you are getting online leads? If you're getting online leads, type online into the Facebook feed or into the chat here. And Camille, I need to know, just type in a number for me and how many of the people on Facebook are getting online leads. If you are not getting online leads, type in none. Okay, type in none if you're not getting any online leads. Oh man, there are people that are not getting on. Look at this. Okay, I got a lot of both. Realtor.com. Holy cow, in a tier two? Are you kidding? Are you a tier two? And I'm not going to say your name out loud, but the person that just typed in Realtor.com, you better be at least tier two because man, I'll tell you, if you're tier one buying Realtor.com, you are spending money that you should not be spending on that. That's a lot of money. Veterans United is a very good one. That's a great lead source. I do like Veterans United. That's a pay at closing lead source. So there's no upfront investment and you only pay if and when you close stuff. That's a great one. YouTube and Facebook are okay, but they're not as predictable for most people. And it takes time to build up that following and make your YouTube and your Facebook pay off. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. They're great lead sources, but they're not usually going to work really, really well for somebody in tier one or tier two who's kind of new. Holy cow, Realtor.com, Zillow, Homes.com. Okay, first of all, those three are all big money up front. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. Okay, yeah, we got to get you to some more affordable lead sources. So what I want you to do is get that list that I just told you about, get that list, download it. Start with all the referral-based lead sources, go apply for all of them. You may or may not get into some of them because you might not have enough production yet. That's okay, right? But what I want you to do is I want you to apply to all of them because some of them might not have somebody in your area, or not enough people in your area. So at least get on their list and be willing to take the far away stuff that's in the ghetto way in the middle of nowhere, right? Where you're starting to hear banjo music when you're driving up to the house, right? Those kind of places, right? Be willing to take all of that. Why? Because when that happens, when you're willing to take anything, you can get your foot in the door with these people, then do a really, really good job on their garbage. And guess what will happen? Occasionally, they'll give you a shot at some of their better stuff. Okay. So, but we want to focus on stuff that doesn't cost less a lot of money. Now, I want you to write down these statistics. 92% of all buyers start their search where? Online. 92% of all buyers start their search online, and fully 72% of those work with the first the first agent they come in contact with that doesn't drop the ball on follow-up. Guys, this is a huge big deal, all right? So we got to make sure we're not dropping the ball on follow-up. So what does follow-up needs to look like? There's two keys: speed to lead, tenacity of follow-up. Speed to lead, tenacity of follow-up. So I just told you, you've got to get to your leads within 30 seconds. Did you know that if you wait 5 minutes or longer to call a lead, to literally pick up the phone and dial the lead, if you wait 5 minutes or longer, your chances of ever connecting with that person plummet by 900%. Let that sink in. 900% drop in your chances of ever being able to connect with them. So we want to make sure we're doing it within that first 5, ideally within the first 30. The top teams in the country are all hitting below 16 seconds on their average speed to lead. Very, very important. Okay. All right, next. And by the way, I love this. Paul just mentioned driving further, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But yes, the willingness to drive further for an appointment is a very, very, very big help. Okay. In other words, I want to see you driving at least. I mean, some of you are probably driving. In fact, type this in. How far will you drive? How many minutes or hours will you drive to get to a listing appointment? How many of you will drive? Yeah, a half hour, 45 minutes. Write down how far you'll drive. I'm curious how many, time wise, how far will you drive? I got some 2 hours, I got 45 minutes, but here I got a couple of 5 hours, 50 minutes, 2 hours or more, 1 hour. Okay, guys, I'm telling you right now, AJ's like, dude, I'll get on a freaking airplane. AJ, you're a smart guy. You know that already, though. All right, so watch this. I'm going to tell you guys right now, you should work your entire state at a bare minimum. Bare minimum, you got to work your entire state. I don't care if you're in California, Texas. I don't care how big, Alaska. I don't care how big your freaking state is. Work the whole state. Why not? Okay. Now I know what people say, but Michael, I don't belong to that MLS over there. So what? You get a listing in a market that's 4 hours away. Guess what you can do? You can find an agent in that market that belongs to that MLS. You can co-list with them. Give them 10% of your listing commission to put in the freaking MLS and put a key box on it for you. How tough is that? It's not hard. You need to expand your market area. I'm telling you, every big producer that I know of works their entire state, and many, many, many of them are working multiple states. Some of them will work anywhere in the country, especially a lot of the luxury folks. I'm seeing a lot of people that are working those luxury markets will work all over the country. They're finding people stuff in New York, Miami, Los Angeles, San Diego, all over, right? Bozeman, Montana. It's crazy. All right. So that being said, I want to make sure that on my lead follow-up, my tenacity of follow-up is where it needs to be. So there's 7 ways we're going to follow up with our leads. Write these down. Phone, text, email, video text, and video email. Phone, text, email, video text, video email. Phone, text, email, video text, video email. Those are the first 5. Number 6 is we're going to use AI. Now, there's 2 different AI products that I like right now. Okay, there's a lot of CRMs that are starting to employ some AI, and they're okay. They're getting there. But my favorite 2 AI products right now, number 1 is Ylopo. If you're not in tier 3 or higher, you shouldn't even consider it. Frankly, it's really kind of more of a tier 4 and higher product. But Ylopo is a fantastic product. Shout out to Barry and Gabe and Howard and G over there. And Camille, if you want to tag those guys in the Facebook post so that they can see where we're talking about them. I love Ylopo. It's a great product. It's expensive. To use it properly, to really get full value out of it, you're going to be spending about $3,500 a month, but it works, and it works really well. Now, there's another AI product that I like that's a lot more affordable called Black Hat, Blackhat, Blackhat. And Black Hat is about $400 a month. What it does is when a lead comes in, it's automatically going to engage with that lead in a text message conversation, and it's going to make the lead think that it's your assistant, right? So they're not going to be able to tell the difference. They're going to think they're chatting with a real person. And yes, Camille, I'll remember to. In fact, guys, speaking of AI, July 1st, we have a 5-hour AI summit coming up. It's going to be online. Okay. It's free to register right now. We were going to charge for it. And frankly, we probably should have charged for it. And we probably could have charged a lot for it. But in fact, if you go to, Camille, if you could put the link in for everybody, it's clubwealth.com/AI summit, clubwealth.com/AI summit. I've got the biggest, best AI speakers in the real estate industry, all speaking on this thing. I'm telling you, we got people like, I got Phil speaking. I've got, oh my gosh, Nick Krem is speaking. I've got, trying to think of all the people I have speaking. Oh, Rajiv Saha is speaking. Dude, Sherman says he's already registered for that. Dude, it's going to be awesome. Yes, Susan, the guy that was at LABC is one of the guys that's going to be speaking. I got Austin, my son, is crushing it with AI right now. So is Brad Burns, one of our coaches. So is Eric Harbert, one of our coaches. Kyle Rainieri, oh, by the way, really good. Guys, these guys are going to be amazing. You need to be on that summit, okay? So it's going to be clubwealth.com/AI summit, July 1st. It's a 5-hour online event. And all you got to do to register for that is just got to go in there and put in your cell phone number. Yeah, we want to get your cell phone number. Yeah, and yeah, we're going to call you. Yeah, just FYI, we're going to call you and we're going to offer you a free coaching call, or a strategy session, we call these, to just, kind of help you in your business. And if you want to learn about coaching, then you could ask on that call. We're not going to cram it down your throat. But yeah, I mean, that's the ethical bribe, right? I'm going to give you all this great value. I'm bringing these amazing speakers in, and all I ask in return is that you give us a shot at, giving you a call and seeing if, we can help you out in some way. All right. That being said, let me get back to Black Hat. So what's cool about Black Hat is it's going to connect with them. It's about $400 a month. If you're using Madison, my daughter, as one of your preferred lenders, not even your only one, but if you're just giving her at bats on occasion, then she'll pay for half of it, which means now you're only paying $197 a month. And oh, by the way, if you don't already, first of all, it will work with any CRM. It'll literally, I shouldn't say any, but the vast majority of CRMs in this business, it will link up with those CRMs, and it will connect with those. And so your data is automatically going in and out of the CRM you're already using. If you do not currently have a CRM, then it comes with Lofty. And if you guys don't know what Lofty is a phenomenal CRM. Honestly, I think it's the number one CRM on the market right now in terms of functionality, what it will do, how well it works, all that. I love Lofty. It's a fantastic CRM. And it comes with Black Hat at no cost. So you can't touch it. And oh, by the way, if you're using Madison with one of your preferred lenders and you're using Black Hat, she'll even let you use her ISA team. So all those leads you got coming in, she'll have her live callers call those leads for you. And those leads will then, so they'll call the leads for you. And then when they get them on the phone, they'll warm transfer the call to you. If you don't answer, they'll just go ahead and set an appointment for you. Right? Dude, you can't touch that for $197 anywhere, let alone get the AI with it and the CRM with it. I mean, come on, dude, it's a killer deal. And by the way, if you're interested in that, let's do this. Camille, what I want you to do. Yes, I like Lofty better than Bold Trail, lots better. But Bold Trail is good. I'm not saying Bold Trail is bad. It's fine. But right now, I'm going to give Lofty the edge on that one. So if you guys are interested in that, if you're interested in Black Hat, type in Black Hat in your chat right now, or type Black Hat into the Facebook comments. And what we'll do is I'll have Camille get with you. In fact, type in Black Hat and then like your phone number. And that way I can have Madison and Sawyer can reach out to you and they can do that. Lofty over Follow Up Boss. That is a great question. Yes, I like Lofty much better than Follow Up Boss. Here's the difference. If you're using Zillow Flex, you got to use Follow Up Boss. They require it. But other than that, I'm not in love with Follow Up Boss. It's okay. It's a good CRM. I'm not saying it's bad. And if you're getting it for free from your team leader or from your brokerage or anything like that, then it's great. I love when you get a CRM for free, right? Let's save money everywhere we can. RealVolve, another one. I prefer Lofty, but RealVolve is also very good. All right, we got to move on. So there's 6 of the 7 ways that we're going to follow up. Okay, and Camille, if you could make sure. And yes, AJ, Lofty does have some AI built into it. Yes, it does. I like Black Hat's AI better, but the Lofty AI is pretty good. It's pretty good. And it's, again, all these guys will get better. AI is evolving quickly. I mean, rapid fire. So and all these companies are going to get much better at AI. If they don't, they're going to go away. They're going to cease to exist. AI is here to stay, and you've got to be good at AI, and you've got to have good AI in your business, period. Got to have it. All right, number 7, and this one's big, guys. Number 7 is and people think I'm kidding when I say this. It is actually a big deal. I'm going to Facebook stalk them. Now, what do I mean by Facebook stalking? I mean, literally, when I'm having a hard time getting a hold of a lead, I'm going to go to Facebook. I'm going to send them a direct message. And when I send them that direct message, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to go in. They're not going to see it. It's going to go into their filtered messages. So I'm going to go into their feed. I'm going to find a spot where they're chatting with somebody else, and then I'm going to reply to one of their comments. That's going to tag them in my comment. Okay. That means they're going to see it. They're a lot more likely to see it. In my comment, I'm simply going to say, "Hey, Susie, it's Michael. I've been trying to get a hold of you. By the way, here's my phone number. I also sent you a direct message. It probably went into your filtered messages. You might want to check there." Okay. That is a very big deal. Why? Because, guys, you need people to see or hear or feel your name. Like, they need to experience you in 7 to 10 different ways before they'll even remember your name. Okay. So what's going to happen is now they're not going to call me. She's never going to call me. But what she will do is she'll go into her filtered messages. She will see that message. She'll open it up. And all of a sudden now Facebook thinks that we know each other somehow. So it's going to start feeding her, not a lot, but a little bit of my content. As it starts to feed her a little bit of my content, I'm getting more and more and more of those touches. This is mission critical, you guys. I cannot stress this enough. Okay. All of a sudden now, when I call her, she's gonna be like, "Oh, you're that guy from Facebook." Yes, ma'am, I am. Right? I'm telling you guys, this is a very big deal. All right, now, so we Facebook stalk them. That's our 7 ways. Now, the frequency in which we follow up on these 7 ways is mission critical. So we use something called the Club Wealth Rule of Three. Write this down. The Club Wealth Rule of Three. So I'm going to reach out to them in one of those 7 ways on the following schedule. And Camille will also type this in for you if you guys would like to be able to just copy it. But it's 3 times a day for the first 3 days, 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks, 3 times a month for the next 3 months, 3 times a year for the next 3 years. I'll give it to you again. 3 times a day for the first 3 days, 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks, 3 times a month for the next 3 months, 3 times a year for the next 3 years. One more time. 3 times a day for the first 3 days, 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks, 3 times a month for the next 3 months, 3 times a year for the next 3 years. Guys, here's the deal. Probably what you're thinking right now, and I'd love to know this. If you think that we're going to upset a few people by contacting them that frequently, type in the word upset in the Facebook stream or in the chat here. If you think they're being very honest, if you think we're going to upset a few people, type the word upset. I want to see how many of you think we're going to upset some people. Okay. So far, only one of you thinks we're going to upset people. Really? I'm shocked. I would have thought a lot of you would have thought that we're going to upset some people. I'll tell you this, we are, and this is just the chat here in this group. Okay. Well, the short answer is yes, we're going to upset a few people. All right. And it's okay. And hold on, I'm seeing 3 times a day. We have a rule that we wait 24 hours. Who gave you that? Oh, the 24-hour. Okay, I got to talk to that. I think I know who you're talking about. You're talking about Francois, right? Okay, I'm going to talk to him about that. And I want to know, when you say you're waiting 24 hours, I want to know why you're waiting 24 hours. So I'll have that conversation with Francois either tonight or tomorrow. I'm going to see him at dinner tonight. So I'll see if I can have that conversation tonight with him. But I wanted to get on it right away. 3 times a day for the first 3 days. Okay, now watch this. In the beginning, if I don't reach out to them right away, guess what's going to happen? Somebody else is reaching out to them, right? I got to be on top of this right away. I got to be the first one they talk to. I got to be the one that's following up them the most frequently. I got to be in their face in a nice way. Write this down. Be pleasantly persistent. I want to be pleasantly persistent, and I want to be aggressive with the process, but not with people. So write both of those down. Be pleasantly persistent and be aggressive with the process, but not with people. That's how you win business, okay? Now, that said, let's assume I'm following up with them on that frequency. What is my goal with my follow-up? I only have one goal. There's only one thing I want to accomplish. What is it? Nobody knows? Type it into the chat if you think you know the answer. What is my one goal? When I get somebody on the phone, what's my goal? What do I want to get? That's right. I'm going to set the appointment. No matter what, I'm going to set the appointment, okay? In fact, I will tell you this, guys, when you're making phone calls, okay, I want you to put your focus not on how many calls you make, not on how long you call. I want you to set your focus on setting the appointment. How many appointments do I get when I make my calls? Your goal, if you want to make whatever your average sales price is, so if I'm in a market where the average sales price is $400,000, if I want to make $400,000 a year, I need to set, write this down, 2 appointments a day, 5 days a week with people I have not yet met who are interested in buying or selling a home now or in the future. I'll give it to you again. 2 appointments a day, 5 days a week with people I have not yet met who are interested in buying or selling a home now or in the future. Last time, 2 appointments a day, 5 days a week with people I've not yet met who are interested in buying or selling a home now or in the future. You do that, I promise you, and you do that 5 days a week. I promise you, you are literally hitting your average sales price and gross commission income every year. Okay. Very doable. All right. Now, I'm focused on setting the appointment. Here's the big challenge. A lot of people, they're not just focused on setting the appointment, but before they go, like a lot of agents don't want to go waste their time with somebody until they know, like, maybe they don't want to go meet a buyer until they know that they're what? Pre-approved or pre-qualified, right? Here's the problem with that. We call that sales prevention 101. Why? Because, guys, you're making people jump through hoops before you've even built that relationship on trust. It comes across as very entitled. We want to make sure that we're not coming across entitled. We want to make sure that we remember that we're in a service industry and ours is the duty to serve people. Okay. So, what does that look like? I'm going to make sure I set an appointment with everybody right off the bat. In fact, think about this. What industry, some of you may know the answer to this. Type it into the chat or into the Facebook feed if you know. What industry is better at lead conversion than real estate? What do you think? I'm curious what industries you guys will come up with. Which industries are better at lead conversion than real estate? Let's see what answers you come up with. Just like, what do you think, guys? I see insurance. Okay. I'm seeing, auto sales. There's a good one. Yeah. Solar. Yeah, there's a pretty good one. Yeah, that's a good one. All of them. Nice, right? Okay. I'll give you a hint. Most of you know at least one of these, and you probably don't realize it, but you know at least one. In fact, there may be even one on the call today. You just never know. I'll give you a hint. It's your drug dealer. Wait, what? What's the Mormon kid talking about drug dealers for? Look, I don't even drink coffee, let alone do drugs. All right, guys. So take a chill pill. It's just an example, but you'll remember this example. All right. Think about this. What does a drug dealer know about lead conversion that real estate agents don't? What does a drug dealer know about lead conversion that real estate agents don't? Write this down. First one's free, then you got to pay. First one's free, then you got to pay. That's exactly right, right? You got to give them a little tasty taste of the product. What's your product? I got news for you. You are the product. It's you. It's not the houses. It's you. And so how do they get a taste of the product? You're going to go out there and the first time you meet them to show a house, you're going to lick your face? No, that'd be weird, right? I actually had a gal in a class, I don't know, a couple of summers ago. She's like, I don't know, Michael, it's been a pretty slow year. Like, okay, no, down, girl, it's weird. All right. So here's the deal. What you're going to do is you're going to get face to face with them, and that's how they taste the product. When you're face to face with them, they get to experience you. Okay. And I'll bet you that every single person on this call, if we're being honest, I'll bet every single one of you sells better face to face than you do over the phone. Okay. So that's the key, is get face to face with as many people as you can, as fast as you can, as frequently as you can. Okay. Now, what happens next is completely up to you, but you have got to get face to face with them. All right. This is super important. All right. Next, how many of you work with buyers? Okay. If you work with buyers, type buyer into the chat. Okay. If you work with buyers, type buyers in. If you work with sellers, type sellers in. If you work with both buyers and sellers, type both in the chat. Okay. Let's see what we got. Oh, I got a lot of both. I got some buyers, I got some sellers, buyers, sellers, a lot of both. I'm still seeing a lot of both. Interesting. Very cool. All right. Lots of both. Interesting. All right. So watch this. Who makes more money? General practice doctors or specialists? General or specialist? Right? Type that in. General or specialist? Who makes more money? Oh, look at that. It's all the specialists. And you guys are getting it right. I'm seeing specialists and all of it. Everybody's typing in specialists now. Well, get this though. Which one did you just say you are? Are you a generalist or are you a specialist? Yeah, you guys are all generalists if you're working both buyers and sellers. Now, here's the interesting thing. Zillow just did a study that confirms what I've been telling people for decades. And that is that you will make more money if you specialize in either working with buyers or with sellers, not both. Now, be careful. If you're a solo agent, you kind of got to work with both, right? Okay. And so I like that. You're saying that if you don't list, you don't last. Maybe, but I'll tell you this. There are some people that they're buyer agents out there that make very good money. They make two, three, four, $500,000 a year just working with buyers. They don't even work with sellers, and that's fine, right? But here's the key. If you were a solo agent, you would actually make more money by joining a team. In fact, the number is 25% more by joining a team, even after you pay the team split and then focusing on either buyers or sellers. The number is that you'll make 25% more than you would as a solo agent working with both. Isn't that interesting? Now, that being said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach you how to work with sellers. But before I do, I want you to think about this little test. Okay, I'm going to give you a little test. I want you to think about which personality type best describes you. Okay, I'm going to help you decide, should I work with buyers or should I work with sellers? And the answer to this test is going to definitively tell you which is which for you. Okay, so close your eyes just for a minute, unless you're driving. If you're driving and watching this while you drive, do not freaking close your eyes. Keep them wide open. Okay, so the rest of you, close your eyes. And I want you to think about this. First, I'm going to give you both personality types. And when I say the personality type that best describes you, I want you to type in A or B for which personality type best describes you. Personality type number A, or letter A, is I'm going to get in there. I'm going to find out exactly what's going on with these guys. I'm going to discover everything that's unique about them. I'm going to educate them. I'm going to lead them. I'm going to guide them. I'm going to nurture them through this process. I'm going to make sure that they get world-class service every step of the way. In fact, I'm going to make sure that at the end of this process, they are not only going to love me, but they're going to love me so much that they will only use me from now on, and they will only refer me to all of their friends and everyone they know. If that describes you, type the letter A into the chat. Now, I'm going to give you personality type B. Personality type B is, I'm going to go up to that front door. I'm going to kick it down. I'm going to punch him in the face. I'm going to make him sign. Then I'm going to hand it off to somebody else who's going to deal with the carnage after I've gone. So I can go get the next one. If that describes you, type in the letter B. Which one that best describes you, A or B? Oh, look at this. I'm seeing a ton of A's, and I got one person that's like, I wish I was a B. That's awesome. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. And look at this. Definitely not B. Okay, well, get this. Those of you that typed in A should focus on working with buyers. Anybody that typed B should focus on working with sellers. Now, here's the interesting thing. Did you know, and by the way, if you think I'm wrong about this, I want you to ask yourself this. You ever done a transaction with somebody and thought, man, that listing agent was such a jerk, right? If you've ever experienced that, say yes in the chat. I'm curious. See if anybody's ever thought about that. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I got a lot of you, huh? Right? Okay. So check this out. That's because they're probably a high D on the DISC personality profile, which, by the way, only 3% of the world's population are high D. And guess what? Most, or I should say, a very high percentage of listing agents are high D on the DISC personality profile. So here's the deal, guys. Understand, you can make a ton of money whether you're working with buyers or with sellers, but you're going to make the most if you'll focus on the one that you're uniquely qualified to work with. Now, for those of you that didn't type anything in, I want you to write this script down. Okay, there's a script you guys are going to need to memorize. Very simple one. Okay, write this down. Would you like fries with that? I'll give it to you again. Would you like fries with that? Yeah, if you're still writing, guys, stop, okay? Why am I saying that script? Because if you don't freaking figure out whether you're better at working with buyers or sellers, you're going to be working at McDonald's. But I got sad news for you. They don't even freaking need you, because guess what? They got AI taking orders now. They got the kiosks. Before long, they're going to have machines. Dude, it's going to be a robot-driven business before too long. I got news for you. Look at that. Is that Dave? Freaking Dave Woodson's on the call. I love you, Dave. You're awesome. Dave's like, I was fired by McDonald's. I freaking love you, Dave. You're awesome. That's great. By the way, probably the best thing that ever happened to you is getting fired by McDonald's. Susan Crawford's laughing. That's funny. All right. So that said, guys, here's the deal. Pick one, but I'm going to teach you real quick. I'm going to give you just the last thing on working with sellers. Okay. So I've been on over 10,000 listing appointments, and I've learned a thing or two about what it takes to get a listing. And mostly because I screwed a lot of stuff up. Right. And so a couple of things I want to share with you. Number one, Stop getting electronic signatures. Okay, just stop doing that altogether. Okay, your baby boomers hate those electronic gadgets. They don't trust electronic signatures. Second of all, what happens when let's take an average sales price. Watch this. Let's just do some easy numbers. Okay, so if I'm working with, let's say my average sales price is let's just say it's $500,000. All right. On an average of $500,000, if I'm getting 2.5% on $500,000, what is that? Hold on, help me out with the math here. Somebody type in the chat there. What's 2.5% of $500,000? Let me give you some quick math, and I better not see 20 different numbers. Come on, guys. If you got an Android, do it on your Android. If you got an iPhone, try somebody's Android. I'm just kidding. Is it 12.5? Is that right? Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's right. Okay, $12,500. Okay, now you guys, you're not allowed to talk commissions amongst yourselves. I'm not a real estate agent today, so guess what? I can talk commissions, but I'm going to tell you, a lot of agents they're getting 12.5. Guess what? You should be getting $25,000 on that same house. Now I'm going to show you how to get 25 instead of 12.5. I'm going to show you how to do it and have the clients love you. Okay. But what I want you to think about is if I'm using an electronic device, when I walk into that house, if I drop that thing on the ground and it breaks on my way in the door, guess what, guys? I just lost $12,500 to $25,000 somewhere in there. I just lost all that money because if I don't get that listing on the first appointment, my chances of getting it plummet. Okay. I cannot stress this enough, you guys. You got to get this thing on the first appointment. Okay. Now, what happens if the battery dies or the operating system crashes or heaven forbid they don't have internet, right? There's all kinds of reasons why I might lose my $12,000 to $25,000. Okay. Very, very, very important that we not use electronic gadgets on our listing appointments. I don't even use a PowerPoint or any electronic presentation or anything. Okay, it's too risky. There's too many ways it can go wrong, and I just. By the way, you need to be better than that. I need to be able to get to my commissions without having to worry about that. So. That said, next is your attire. You need to dress properly for the appointment. Now, I will tell you, I've split tested this a million different ways. Okay. And I can tell you with a surety that guys, when I wear a suit and tie, I listed more homes than I did in any other way. Okay. And I've tried all kinds of different attire combinations, but consumers like to see a real estate agent in a suit and tie. Now, if it's a female agent, ladies, this is going to hit hard for some of you. I'm going to be honest with you here, okay? Don't be mad at me. Don't hate the messenger here, okay? Let's remember it with our attire. Let's remember what we are and are not selling. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. And I'm speaking especially to you guys in Miami and San Diego and Vegas and some of these other places where people are dressing provocatively. I got news for you guys. You may not realize this, but if you're dressed provocatively, with a lot of wives, they're going to look at you and they'll be like, there's no way I'm letting my husband work with her. No way. Okay. So let's make sure that, write this down. Your attire should strengthen your message. Your attire should strengthen your message. Now, guys, if you don't want to wear a tie, at least go with a jacket and a button-up shirt. But by golly, dress it up. Now, if you guys are working with buyers, whether it's man or woman, if you're working with buyers, I should be able to see you from across the street, walking into the house, and I should know from across the street who the real estate agent is. And not because your car's got a full wrap on it. I'm talking because you are dressed properly, okay? Now, this is very, very, very important. Okay, let's go to the next step. So I'm going to dress properly. I got to be prepared for the appointment. I want to make sure that I've got the bare minimum essentials that I've got to have. I don't need to have a cloud CMA and an RPR and all this other. I don't need to have all this stuff, okay? What I need is I need my 2-page property profile from the title company. I need to have my 2-line comparables for my active pending solds, right? I need to see my 2-line comparables for all that. And I need to have all my listing paperwork and my listing checklist. And by the way, if you would like my listing checklist, let's back up. Let me tell you what the listing checklist is. Let's talk about that. So when I go on an appointment, I carry 4 blue ink pens and 1 red ink pen on each appointment. Those 4 blue ink pens, that's 1 for me, 1 for Mr. Seller, 1 for Mrs. Seller, and a spare in case we run out of ink. That saves me 8 minutes on every appointment. Now, you guys probably don't think that 8 minutes is a big deal, but let me tell you, if you want to be super efficient, you want to make more dollars per hour, it's a very big deal. Because if I go on 10 appointments a week and I save 8 minutes on each one, That's an extra hour and 20 minutes I could be making phone calls instead of trying to get people to sign stuff. Now, if I can make an extra hour and 20 minutes of phone calls that week, I can easily set one more appointment. Even if I'm calling cold calls, I could do, which by the way, I never called cold calls. You don't need to call cold calls. Okay. Like I haven't done that in 30 years. Okay. All the other stuff works even better than that. It just happens to be the number five thing that you can do if you need money right now and you're broke. Right. Um, that said, that means I can set one more appointment a week. If I did that 4 weeks a month, that's four extra listing appointments a month. If I suck at this, I'm going to get two of them. And if I suck at selling them, I'm going to sell one of them. That's an extra $12,000 to $25,000 a month that I'm making because I carried four bluing pens and one writing pen on each appointment. Now, here's the deal with the red pen. Okay. So, and by the way, we can find you all kinds of ways like that in your business to be more efficient so you make more dollars per hour. And that's what we really want to do, right? In fact, write this down, guys. This has been heavy on my heart today. I've had some clients I've been having some conversations with today that I really want you to think about. Our core value at Club Wealth is that no success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. Write that down. No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. Guys, I can't stress this enough, right? This isn't about just make money at all costs. There's other coaching companies that are focused on that. That's not us, okay? If all you care about is make as much as you can at all costs, go coach with somebody else. If, however, you want to make a ton of money and you want to have a great life and you want to be able to spend time with your family, loved ones, or doing the things that you enjoy, guess what? Then we may be very well be the right fit for you, okay? But understand this, it's going to come down to I've got to get better at utilizing the hours that I have in the office, and I have to stop wasting that time because I got to remember that every minute I'm at work, I'm not with my family. I'm not with my loved ones. I'm not doing the things that I enjoy when I'm buried at work. Okay. So we want to condense that time down. We want to shrink that time as much as humanly possible while still getting as good or better results. Now, the red pen, here's how this helps me with this. On every appointment I go on, I carry a red pen with me. And if they say something I'm not used to, or I encounter an objection that I haven't encountered before, then I take my red pen and I jot on my checklist. My checklist is just all the talking points that I need to have for my appointment, right? So what I do is I take my red pen and I jot down exactly what I need to say next time to ensure that I don't have that issue again. Now, when I get back to my office, I hand this paperwork off to my assistant. She knows anytime she sees red, that means update all future checklists to include that item. Can you imagine just doing that? Can you imagine how good your checklist is going to be after 5, 6, 10 appointments? How about after 50 appointments or 100 appointments? Or even 1,000 appointments. Can you imagine how good it would be? Imagine how good mine got after 10,000 appointments. Okay. And so watch this. If you would like a copy of my 44-point listing appointment checklist, type in 44-point checklist in the comments, and I will make sure my team, whether you're on Facebook or in the actual live webinar here, if you will type that into the comments, I will make sure my team sends you a copy of my 44-point checklist. Now, if you're on the webinar here, if you're on Facebook, I'm going to DM it to you. If you're on the webinar here, I'm going to need your email address. So what I need you to do is type in 44-point checklist and your email address, okay? That will help me to be able to make sure that I get it to you, or I should say that my staff gets it to you, all right? But here's the thing. When you get it, I just want you to copy it, right? And you're not going to use it exactly the way I use mine, but you're going to take mine and you're just going to copy it and then just change the things and make them yours, right? But use that as a template for how to create your checklist. And I'll tell you, I know a lot of agents that have copied my checklist. They're using a system exactly like my checklist, and they're listing 70, 80, 100 plus homes a year. And even Austin, he uses the same checklist, and he did 164 listings last year, right? Just himself, not counting his team. So it's very doable. It's very helpful. Now, when we get to the appointment, again, we want to remember we want to go for trust, not for like. Okay, don't worry about them liking you. Worry about them trusting you. So when I walk in, the very first thing I'm going to do, I've got to own that thing in the very first 30 seconds. This is really important, okay? So you're going to win that listing in the first 30 seconds, and you have the rest of the appointment to completely freaking screw it up. So let me show you how to win it in the first 30 seconds, okay? I'm going to walk up. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to knock 3 times and then ring the doorbell. Or 4 times, 3 or 4 times, then ring the doorbell, okay? Then I always knock first, then ring, though. Very important. Now they're going to answer the door. I go in right away. I go web to web. Get in there tight with the Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Okay. I'm going to get web to web. I'm going to be pointing my index finger down their wrist, and I'm going to turn their hand over so my hand's on top with my index finger pointing down the wrist. Always 3 pumps. Okay. Don't be an over pumper. That's freaking weird. Okay. Don't do that. Okay. No over pumpers on this call. All right. So what this does is, again, firm web to web. 3 pumps, index finger down the wrist. Guys, I'm telling you right now, this puts you in a control position. This is a neurolinguistic programming technique. It's essentially brainwashing for dummies, right? I hate to say that, but I mean, essentially what you're doing is you're controlling this conversation. They don't even realize it, okay? This is very important. This is going to be part of how they're going to start to trust you. Next thing is look them in the eye, and you'll know that you've made adequate eye contact if you notice their eye color. Always go for the noticing of the eye color. Then I'm going to mention them by name. John, it's so nice to finally meet you. 3 pumps. Then I go to Susie. Susie, I'm so glad Monique referred you to us. Hey, do you mind if I get a few pictures? And I start walking in. I go right past them. Do you mind if I get a few pictures before we get started on the paperwork? Right? I literally walk right past them, right into the house. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, oh my gosh, that's too aggressive. If you think that's too aggressive, type in too aggressive on the screen. Or in the chat. Okay. I want to know, does anybody on here think that's pretty aggressive or too aggressive? Okay. No, I don't have anybody typing that in yet. So far you guys are with me. Oh, okay. No, I got Audra's, who is that? No, it's Andre is like, nope, I don't think so. Actually, really my style. Good, Kimberly. If you can do this, then fantastic. If you can't do this, then what I want you to do is I want you to ask Mrs. Seller to get you a glass of water. I want to get her working for me, right? First of all, who's in charge? Is it Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller? Type in Mr. or Mrs. I want to see who you think is in charge. Everybody needs to type this in. I want to get everybody involved right here. If you're watching me right now, do me the favor, type in Mr. or Mrs. Who do you think's in charge, Mr. or Mrs.? Okay. Look at this. I'm getting a lot of misses. All right. And that's good. All the happily married men are typing in misses right now. All the men that want to be married happily are typing in misses right now. And by the way, all the ladies are typing in misses right now. Okay. All right. Now watch this. It is absolutely true. 99% of the time, Mrs. Seller is in charge unless I'm in an abusive household. And that's about 1% of the time. And this is a real thing, guys. Okay. I want you to really think about this. It sucks, but it's, just a reality of our world. If I'm in an abusive household, there's 3 kind of telltale signs I always look for. Holes in doors and walls. He won't let her get a word in edgewise, and she'll defer every question to him. If I see those 3 things going on, guess what? I'm talking to him, not her. Okay. Now watch this. I'm not a social worker. I'm not a counselor. Okay. I'm not there to solve your freaking problems. I'm here to get your freaking house sold. Okay. So I'm not involved in any of that kind of stuff. I don't need your war stories or all this other stuff. Like, all I'm here to do is get the freaking house sold. And I keep my conversation to that. Okay. Now watch how this works. So I say, do you mind if I get a few pictures before we get started on the paperwork as I'm walking through the door? Mrs. Seller will almost always say, oh, but Michael, our house is such a mess. What do I say? Oh, don't worry. These aren't for the marketing. These are just for my team's information. Now, what did I just tell her? I just subliminally told her 2 different things. Number one, I told her, look, I'm not here to dink around. We're getting this done. I'm listing your house. Okay. And so there's going to be marketing. And number 2, I have a team. And let me tell you something, guys. When I say that, I've just eliminated 90% of my competition already. Because let me tell you, competing against a team as a solo agent is very, very difficult. Not impossible, but very difficult. And especially if I'm competing against a strong listing agent, and especially if it's a strong female listing agent on a team, good freaking luck. Okay. I'll tell you what, that girl will own that appointment and she's probably going to get it. And so I'm just saying the odds are in her favor at that point. Okay. All right. Now, I'll say, don't worry. These aren't for the marketing. These are just for my information. And I'll start walking upstairs. She's immediately going to say, oh, but don't you want to start in the kitchen, right? Because that's her safe space. And watch this. By the way, what's the husband's safe space? Type it in the chat. What's the husband's safe space? Where is it? I'm curious what you guys think his safe space is. Yeah, you guys are getting there. It doesn't freaking matter. We don't care about the husband. He's freaking irrelevant, right? I just told you that. Ignore the husband. We care about the wife. She's the client. He's anecdotal, okay? I hate to say it, boys, but we're anecdotal, all right? Deal with it. So that being said, I'm going to say, She's going to say, don't you want to start in the kitchen? And I'm going to say, nope, I've got a system. I always start upstairs. And I literally start walking upstairs. Guess what she's going to do? When I start walking upstairs, she's going to follow right behind me. Upstairs she goes. And guess what? Who's going to follow right behind? Guys, your girl is following some strange dude upstairs. What are you going to do? Of course, you're going to follow right behind. I'm like the Pied Piper of real estate at this point, right? They're following me all through the house. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. What I need to do at this point, remember this? At this point, during the walkthrough, I'm going to build that relationship on trust using the Ford technique. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Seller open-ended questions about her family, occupation, recreation, and dreams during the walkthrough. This is really, really, really important. Why? Couple of reasons. Number one, I have to get all of the talk out of her before we get downstairs. She's got to have no talk left in her. If we get downstairs and she's got anything to say, guess what? We're going to fight on price, terms, commission, whatever. Or she might say something crazy like, oh, but Michael, our house is worth, $400,000 more than the neighbor's house, even though they got a bigger yard and they're twice the square footage we are, and they've got waterfront and we don't. But hey, we've got ceramic tile in the primary bathroom, right? Are you freaking kidding me? You ever get a seller like that? Watch it. If you've ever had a seller like that, say crazy in your text. I want to see crazy. I want to see how many crazy sellers we got out there, right? I mean, seriously, like you get these people all the freaking time, right? And so here's the thing. What I need to be able to say is, you know what, Mrs. Seller, I did see that ceramic tile in the private bathroom, and it is pretty. By the way, I did notice there's a crack in the backsplash, but don't worry. It's not going to affect your price by that much. What did I just do? Shh. I just gave her a little verbal slappy slap, right? I got to find an appropriate way during my walkthrough to show Mrs. Seller that, hey, I'm not an expert in the room. I'm the expert in the room. Okay. Guys, this is super important. I got to find a non-offensive way to convey this so that I've now earned her trust. I don't care if she likes me. Remember, this is hard for people that want to be liked. Okay. But I promise you, if you can pull yourself back from the whole I got to be liked thing and approach it in this way, all of a sudden you're going to get better results. Okay. Now, I go through, I take pictures of every nook and cranny in the whole house. And as on my way downstairs, mission critical, guys, I have to get rid of all the TVs and radios, get those turned off. And then I got to get rid of the two biggest killers of listings. Type it in, guys. What's the two biggest killers of listings out there? Type it in. Type into your chat, type into the Facebook. I'm curious what you guys think are the two biggest killers of listings. Oh, I'm getting some right answers. You guys get it. It's the kids and the freaking pets, right? So what I'll do is I'll look at Mrs. Seller right in the eye, just look her right in the eye and say, Mrs. Seller, would it be okay with you if we just put the kids in the kennel and the pets in the other room while we go over the paperwork? And she'll be like, and I'll be like, no, really, right? Like she'll get the point, right? Guys, this is super important. I'll tell you why. There was one time I actually was on an appointment, Maple Valley, Washington. I remember like it was yesterday. It was a sunny day. We don't get a lot of those there. And I'm sitting down at their kitchen table and I put my hand on my leg under the table for just a second. And they had a full-size poodle I forgot to make sure they got rid of. And what do you know? That poodle reached right up and just bit my freaking hand and literally would not let go. And I sat there for literally, I kid you not, my 20-minute checklist now became a 10-minute checklist. And he didn't break the skin, but it hurt. And so I literally went through that entire checklist with my hand in this dog's mouth at the end of my appointment after I got all their signatures, right? And by the way, a lot of people are, like, what would you do in that situation? Right? I'm curious. Type into the chat if you guys have a unique solution to this situation. But what I've heard from a lot of people, I hear this, oh, kick the dog, right? Or something like that. Yeah, no, I'm not going to kick the dog because, right, watch this. I got $12,000 to $25,000 online. There's no way I'm kicking that freaking dog. No way. And so guess what? What do? I sat there, bring peanut butter. That's even worse, man. And bite the dog back. You guys are crazy. That's funny. Okay, not doing those, right? I mean, could you imagine if I had peanut butter, man? Then he never would have let go of my hand. Then he'd bug me the whole time. Anyway, that being said, here's what I did. Hold on one second. Okay, good stuff. I'm just reading a message that Camille just sent to me. All right. So yeah, what do you feed your dog? Human hands. Exactly. So here's what I did. I sat there with my hand in the dog's mouth, went through my appointment, got the signatures, and then I looked at Mrs. Seller and I said, Mrs. Seller, Would it be okay with you if we just got Cujo to let go of my hand? She looks under the table. Cujo's under there going like this, ah, right? Drool just dripping off my hand. Drool, I'm like, my pant leg is soaked. I'm wearing a suit, right? My pant leg is soaking wet. Grossest thing you've ever seen. I mean, I don't care if you're a dog person or not. That's disgusting. She felt mortified. She was just absolutely, traumatized by that. She felt terrible. And she's looking at me like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm so sorry. And I said, listen, Mrs. Seller, watch this, guys. I'm going to invoke the law of reciprocity. Watch how this works. Mrs. Seller, it happens. Don't worry about it. In fact, I know you're going to more than make up for it with all the referrals you're going to send me, aren't you? Right? And what am I doing? Nod my head. And by the way, I'll bet there are people at home right now nodding your head along with me. By the way, if you're nodding your head right now, type in nod in your chat. NOD, nod, if you're nodding your head along with me. If you just look at this, look at all the people typing in the chat that they're nodding. I love it. That's awesome. Guys, this is a neurolinguistic programming technique. It's the easiest one to learn. It's the easiest one to implement. And frankly, it's the most effective. If I want to get a yes from somebody, I nod my head. If I want to get a no, I'll shake my head back and forth. Think about this. What's more powerful, your conscious mind or your subconscious mind? It's your subconscious mind, and it cannot tell the difference between reality and what you tell it to believe. So guys, when I nod my head, you're physiologically compelled to nod your head as well. Some of you are doing it again, right? When I shake my head back and forth, it's physiologically compelling to repeat, to respond in kind, okay? This is very, very powerful. Now, I'm going to give you some scripts, and then I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do this. This is how we're going to end today. We're almost to the end here. I want you to stay with me and focus. I'm going to give you these scripts. And then I'm going to tell you about this event we got coming up, and I'm going to tell you how to connect with us if you want to connect with us. And maybe you're interested in coaching, coming to the event, whatever. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then here's what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to go from making $12,500 to $25,000 and getting your clients to love you. And this right here, when I teach you this, you're going to be like, no freaking way. I will tell you right now, I want to see everybody on this call double your commissions in the next 12 months. And it's very doable. Okay. All right. Now, here we go. The scripts I want you to memorize, write these down. The first script I want you to memorize is the follow-up script that we recommend. So instead of calling people up and saying, are you ready to buy yet? Are you ready to sell yet? I want you to simply say, I just want to make sure when I'm not dropping the ball on my end. I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on my end. I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on my end. Okay. That's the first one. And what you'll find is the response that you're going to get is going to be, and thank you for typing that in there, Camille. The response that you're going to get almost every time, they're going to say, oh, no, it's not you. It's us. Right. It's like that girl in high school, right, guys? I'm just kidding. You guys probably didn't get that a lot. I certainly did. But that being said, check this out. So what I've done now is, again, I've invoked the law of reciprocity. They feel bad they haven't followed up with me. That puts me in an advantage. Okay. That's a good place to be. Okay. Next, on buyer appointments, every single buyer appointment you go on, and guys, I'm telling you this one's powerful. This is one of those ones you kind of keep to yourself. You don't tell all your competitors in your marketplace, right? Because it gives you kind of an unfair advantage. But write this down. At the end of every appointment, when you've shown a house, I want you to ask the buyer, at what price would this be a great deal for you? At what price would this be a great deal for you? At what price would this be a great deal for you? Okay. Very simple. And now if you're showing a $500,000 house and they say 250, what do? You freaking write it up at 250. Okay. Because you have to show the client that you're on their side. I cannot stress that enough. The client has to know you're on their side. If you said something like, oh, they're never going to take that, what do you think the client's going to say? Well, screw you. If you're not going to, work hard on my behalf, I'll go find somebody who will negotiate for me, right? They don't have a clue yet that they're probably not going to get it for half price, okay? They don't know what the market is like. They don't know how this works. They don't have your level of experience. If they did, wouldn't need you, right? So consider it a compliment that you've got to be patient and you've got to gently, emphasis on the word gently educate them through this process, okay? And they may have to miss a couple of houses before they finally get one. That's okay, all right? It's part of the process. Let them go through their process. All right, now, on the call, when I'm on that call and I've set the appointment, so the very initial call that I get, or when the lead comes in, I'm calling a buyer back. and I get that buyer on the phone. I set my appointment. Now, I do want them to talk to my lender. I can never force them. I don't ever want to make them talk to my lender because that's pushing people away, right? That's chasing people instead of attracting people. I want to attract business, okay? So after I've set the appointment, then I'm going to use the following script to get them to want to talk to my lender. This is a very important script, you guys. Pay close attention. After I've set the appointment, I'll ask the buyer if they could save you $10,000 to $20,000 on your mortgage. If they could save you $10,000 to $20,000 on your mortgage. If they could save you $10,000 to $20,000 on your mortgage, would you be interested in chatting with one of our lenders? If they could save you $10,000 to $20,000 on your mortgage, would you be interested in chatting with one of our lenders? They always say yes. And when they do, I'm going to do a three-way call. And I use a number, I use a system of technology that allows me to call one number and it broadcasts that call out to both of my lenders and all of the people on their teams that are capable of taking a loan application. So I'm going to get a live lender on the phone right away. Okay, this is very, very, very important. All right. So I'm broadcasting it out. I'm getting my lender on the phone right away. And then and what I want to make sure happens is at that point, I want to make darn sure that my lender is not just sending them an email or a link to fill out a loan application. Instead, I want to make sure that while they're on the phone, my lender is going to send them a link. And I get off the phone at this point, but my lender sends them the link to the loan application and goes over the loan application with them and helps them hold their hand, fill out that appointment there, that application while they're on the phone. This is mission critical. And I'll tell you, a lot of people, guys, think about this. People are apprehensive about this process, right? They're nervous about this. It's overwhelming. It's scary to them, right? So you need a lender that's going to hold their hand through that process. That's one of the things I really appreciate about Madison. And again, I'm not trying to foist my daughter on you. I'm just saying, guys, if you want a great lender that can do deals that a lot of lenders just plain can't do, somebody that really understands how to play multi-level chess instead of playing freaking checkers, right? Somebody that can, really think about how do I make sure that not only is this transaction happen, but I'm getting them into the next 4 or 5, especially if I'm trying to take my clients from doing one house every 10 to 14 years to doing 1 to 4 houses a year, which is an awesome way to grow your business. Guess what? You need Madison. Okay. And she knows how to do this over the phone, like I just described. She's very good at it. All right. Now, the last script I want to teach you, and this one's huge. Very important script. When I'm on my listing appointment, I've gone through my checklist. I get to the end of my checklist, and now it's time to get Mrs. Seller to sign on the dotted line. How do I do that? Very straightforward. I'm going to look Mrs. Seller right in the eye, and I'm going to say, Susie, are there any reason? Dude, can you tell I haven't done this in 20 years? Just kidding. Watch this. Susie, are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Watch this. What she's going to say almost every time is no. Fantastic. Here's the property disclosure form. I go right to signatures. Now, if she gives me an objection, I'm going to use something called the commitment pattern. Okay, this is very, very important. And so I'm going to come back. I'm going to resolve that concern, and then I'm going to restate my close. Okay, always resolve the concern, restate close. Here's how that works. So if she gives me an objection, the first objection she's probably going to give me is commission. She's going to ask me if I'll cut my commission. Right? And the very first time they do that, I always respond the same way. No. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Fantastic. Here's the property disclosure form. 9 times out of 10, guys, when they ask, it's not an objection. It's just a question. Okay. So think about that for a second. The problem is most agents freak out and they go right into, defensive objection handling mode. Don't do that. Stay calm, man. Just chill out and just say, no. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? You'd be surprised how often they'll be like, no, fantastic. Here's the property disclosure form. And you go right to signatures. Now, if she asks me a second time, it will almost always come in the form of, well, but Michael, so-and-so said she would do it. Susie, I'm really glad you asked me that. In fact, let me ask you this. If an agent's not strong enough to negotiate for their own commission, what makes you think they're going to be strong enough to negotiate for the price of your home? Fantastic. So are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Great. Here's the property disclosure form. Game over, right? More often than not. Now, if they ask a third time, here's how I'll handle that objection the third time. So, Michael, we really though we take, we cut your commission. Gosh, Susie, I'm really glad you asked me that. And let me just as remind you, as we discussed, my listings sell on average at 5.25% more than the average listing in the marketplace. So even if I charge you an extra 2% compared to all the other agents out there, that means you're going to net 3.25% more with me than you would with the average agent out there. So, what I really got to ask you is what's more important to you? How much I make or how much you make? Exactly. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Fantastic. Here's the property disclosure form. Game over, guys. I'm telling you right now, 85 to 90% of the time, you've got the listing at that point. Move on, go get the next one, cash the checks. It's all good. All right. Now, that being said, if I'm going to teach you this last thing, before I teach you this last thing, I would love to know. I'm just going to ask you a couple of quick questions. And if you guys could type the answers in the chat or in the Facebook feed if you're watching on Facebook. Okay. First of all, how many of you have learned at least one thing today that you will implement no matter what? If you can say that you've learned at least one thing, type in one thing into the chat or into the comments. If you've learned at least one thing today that you're going to implement no matter what. Man, I'm super. First of all, I'm seeing a lot of this. Oh, look at that. Yes, high value content. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm seeing one thing typed in a ton. Thank you for that, you guys. Listen, I want you thinking every time you engage with me or with Club Wealth, I want you thinking to yourself, man, I can't imagine if they're willing to do that for me for free. I can't imagine what they're willing to do once I'm paying them, right? I'm really hoping that's how you're feeling right now. And assuming you are, I'd like your permission. If you could just do me a favor and just silently, there at home, if you could just nod your head if it's okay. If I go ahead and just tell you really quick about our event that's coming up and what it's like to coach with us, I would really just like to share this with you. And then I'm going to go over this right here. And I'm telling you right now, this right here, I saved the best for last. This is the one thing that I'm telling you, if you implement this, will easily double your commissions this year. All right. Now, before I share that, so on September 23rd in San Antonio, Texas, we have an event coming up. It's called our Business Strategy Mastermind Conference. Now, if you were to go on our website and buy a ticket to that event right now, it would be $997 to get a ticket to the event, and it would be worth every penny of it. In fact, if you wait until the last 30 days, the prices go up to $1,500. And would it surprise you if I told you that 30% of the real estate agents that come to our events wait until the last minute to get their ticket and they end up paying the $1,500? Isn't that crazy? But I'll tell you this. And sure, by the way, certainly there's cheaper events in the industry out there. We're not the cheapest event out there. In fact, we're one of the more expensive events. Well, why is that? Because the value's there, right? I mean, literally, you get what you pay for at these events. And I promise you this, you will get more value out of our events than any other event ever. I promise you that. And I'll even stand behind and I'll show you how in just a second. But here's the deal. I'm going to make you a deal today. I'm going to give you the same deal that I give people when I do an in-person event, but it's going to be today and today only. Okay. So for this online event. And here's the deal. You're not going to pay $1,500. In fact, you're not even going to pay the $997 that everybody pays. And lots of people pay the $997. You're not going to even pay that. Everybody that buys a ticket to our event, it's a 2-day event in San Antonio, Texas. I guarantee it'll be the best event you've ever been to in this industry. And everybody that signs up right now today, I'm going to give you your ticket for just $497. Okay. But you got to sign up today. And yes, that's September 23rd and 24th in San Antonio, Texas. It's called our Business Strategy Mastermind Conference. It's 2 days in a room with 250 of the top producing agents on this planet. The average agent in that room is doing over 200 transactions a year. That's a pretty big deal. Kind of put it in perspective, most other coaches in the industry, if you look at their average attendee, they're going to be doing about 20 transactions a year. Our average attendee is doing 200 transactions a year, which means we got a lot of people doing even more than that. Guys, I got to get you out of your market. I got to get you out of your brand. And I got to get you in a room with people from every market and from every brand where you're getting amazing info. And there's not a big sales pitch for coaching. It's just value, 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 value. That said, those of you that would like to go, here's what's going to happen. I want you to type in event into either your chat here or on Facebook. I want you to type in event on the feed in Facebook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my team reach out to you. So make sure you put your phone number there so that I can call you or have my team call you. They're going to reach out to you and call you. So Momo, if you could do me a favor, get and some. I see some other people like if you got do me a favor, guys. I'm seeing a bunch of different. So I'm seeing this. I'm already going to the event. Yes, I'm stoked that you guys are going. I see a bunch of people typing in. They're already going. That's awesome. But anyway, put the word event and your phone number in there so that I can give you guys a call or have my staff call you, and we're going to get you that ticket for just $497. It's today only though. Here's the deal. Now I'm going to guarantee the event too. And here's the thing. I always like to reverse the risk. So here's my guarantee. Get your event ticket right now, and guess what? Not only will you get it for the $497, but if by the end of the event, at the end of these 2 days, you don't agree that it's, in fact, if by the end of just day one, you don't agree that it's the best event you've ever been to in this industry, and if you're not 100% convinced that you're going to make at least an extra $100,000 in your first year following that event, the next 12 months, just from what you learned and who you met at the event that day, if you're not 100% convinced, then you come up to me at the end of day one, and I won't just give you your money back. I'll give you your money back. I'll give you your airfare back. I'll give you your hotel back. I'll even buy you a first class ticket back home, and I'll get you a limo from the airport to your house. But you got to leave right then. You can't stay for day two. Guess how many people have ever taken me up on that offer? Nobody's ever asked me for their money back. Why? Because the events are that good. Guys, I promise you, these are not built as a sales pitch. They're built as an amazing value add for our existing clients. We just happen to let people that aren't already clients of ours come to the event. Why? Because I have a feeling that when you come to the event, you're going to get so much value. You're going to be like, dude, this was amazing. Sign me up for coaching. Like, you'll just naturally come up to me and ask me to do that, right? But it's not going to be a big pitch. So you're going to have to ask us, okay? All right, that being said, the event is one thing. Next, those of you that are interested in dipping their toe in the water, maybe you just can't afford coaching right now, or maybe it's, or maybe you're just not ready for coming to an event or whatever, then guess what? Sign up for our group coaching program. Normally, our group coaching program is $97 a month, and we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients paying that already. In fact, we've had thousands of people on our group coaching program, and they pay $97 a month. But when we do a live event, so this is a live, we're going to consider this a live event, not an in-person event, but we're going to do this as the live online price today. Instead of paying $97 a month, everybody that signs up for our group coaching program within the next 30 minutes, I'm going to give it to you for $77 a month. And you can cancel at any time. And I'll tell you, it's taught by Ron Anderson. And by the way, if you know Ron, and if you're on Facebook, if you give Ron a shout out, you know how good he is. The guy is, honestly, he's the best coach in the industry. I think he's far better than me. He's amazing. He's the people whisperer. He knows everything there is to know about real estate. The guy knows how to get your business moving forward. You need to be on those group coaching calls. You can start and stop at any time. It's month to month. There's no long-term commitment. I love it. I got people in here. He's the best. I love Ron. I love it. Thank you for that, Kristen, and others that have been typing that stuff in. That being said, guys, that group coaching program, it's a live call every single week. You get a ton of technology with it. During the live call, they give you all the checklists, everything you can think of in your business. There's a checklist for everything that needs to be done. We give you all the checklists during those calls. And oh, by the way, we also give you the recordings of all the archived calls. You always have access to those archived recordings. So if you miss a call or you just want to go back and review a call and grab those checklists again, you can jump in, grab all that. Look, I'm not going to waste any more time telling you about all the stuff you get with the group coaching. Take action. Okay. Get on clubwealth.com/group. Go sign up. It'll charge you $97, but if you do it in the next 30 minutes, then you're just going to send me a text message. I'm going to give you my cell phone number in just a second. But then all I want you to do is just send me a text message and say, hey, I signed up for group, and then I'll have the team change your price. They'll refund you the $20 and they'll change your price to $77 going forward. The reason I got to do it this way is because, to be honest with you, I forgot to adjust the price for the half hour online. And so I'm going to have to manually do it, or manually have the staff do it for you. But that said, jump in there, clubwealth.com/group. I promise you, you're going to love it. Now, one-on-one coaching. Anybody that's interested in the one-on-one coaching, guys, I don't have time to go into great detail on it, but let me just tell you about it. Our one-on-one coaching program is the best in the industry. We guarantee that you will literally make an extra $100,000 in your first year coaching with us. We give you 100% of your money back. Now watch this. If I said to you, hey, pay me $750, $850, $3,000 a month, whatever it is, depending on what level you're at. If I said to you, hey, pay me that per month, and if you don't make at least an extra $100,000, or I'll just give you your money back, Who wouldn't do that? I mean, seriously, guys, like you have nothing to lose. So for those of you that are interested in the coaching, type in one-on-one in the comments or the chat. Type in one-on-one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my team reach out to you. And normally we charge an enrollment fee for our one-on-one coaching. It's equal to a month's coaching. That being said, those of you that request it today and get signed up before the end of today for the one-on-one coaching, I will waive the enrollment fee and I will get you that ticket to the event. I will give you the event ticket at no cost. Okay. But that's only for those of you that sign up for the one-on-one today. Okay. Now, why do I do that? Why do we always do this today only offer? Because I know I got to get you off the couch to freaking engage with us so I can help you. I can't help you. I can't grow your business if you're not engaged with us. Okay. All right. So that said, if there's any other questions on, and yes, David, that is a steal. I appreciate you mentioning that. David just mentioned that in the comments. I don't think you guys can see all the comments there. I'm looking at the comments of the host and the panelists. But yes, David, that is a very good deal. And I appreciate you noticing that. But here's the deal. Again, we do that because I know once I get you into coaching and I start showing you the results and you start making money and you're doing it, working less hours, and you're actually able to spend more time with your family, friends, and doing the things you enjoy, guess what's going to happen? You're going to stick with the coaching long term. And some of you will even become coaches with us. And as you become, and by the way, one of the things that's very different about coaching with Club Wealth is that every one of our coaches sells more real estate than the people they coach. No other coaching company offers that. So in other words, if you're in tier one, your coach is in tier two. If you're in tier two, your coach is in tier three, and so forth, all the way on up. And guys, I'll tell you, that's really, really important because remember, if you want to climb to the top of Mount Everest, you need a guide who's been to the top of Mount Everest before. Something else we do that's very different is we give you unlimited calls. Our calls are an hour long, not a half hour. We have mastermind calls for you and for your team members. So we're not just coaching you, we're coaching your team as well. And oh, by the way, you get to select your coach. And if ever you become too good of friends with your coach and it's hard for them to hold you accountable, and that will happen over time, guess what? You get to move coaches whenever you want, and you get to select your new coach with us. I'm telling you guys, once you've coached with us, you will know the difference, especially if you've ever coached with somebody else. I love it when people come to us from other coaching programs because when they get here, they realize how incredibly different it is and they're here for a long time. Give you an idea of retention rates in coaching, guys. Did you know, first and foremost, did you know that the average agent who's coached makes 8 to 11 times more than agents without a coach? And now when it comes to retention rates across coaching companies, the average retention rate for most coaching companies is 2 to 4 years. Our retention rate is 6 to 8 years. Why is that? It's different. I promise you, you're going to love it. All right. That being said, I want to move on. Camille, if I've forgotten anything, please remind me, but I want to teach them this last thing. I want to let them get on with their day. Guys, this piece right here that I'm going to teach you is such a big deal. Oh, and by the way, for all of you that have been typing in event, I know a lot of you typed in event. You're going to want to come to the event. The event location, all that, we're going to get, or sorry, the venue and all that. We will get you that. Once we get you signed up for your ticket, we'll get you the hotel information so you can get our discount on the hotel. Please don't tell anybody else where the hotel is. I'm saying this because there are sometimes agents that think they're going to, sneak in or something like that. And I want to spare them the embarrassment of having to be escorted off the premises. We don't play that game. We respect the people that have paid to be there and we want to make sure they're getting value and we don't do freeloaders. So just throw that out there. All right, good stuff. So grab a fresh sheet of paper. I'm telling you right now, guys, this is going to change your world. So one of the biggest mistakes that most agents make is you're telling people what you charge. That's the dumbest thing that can be done. What does that mean? So if you go into a listing appointment, you say to somebody, well, I charge this to list your home. I don't care what the percentage is. You just gave them an ultimatum. Essentially, you said, if you don't pay me this, I won't work for you. Okay. That is such a big deal. All right. Now, what does that mean? Instead, give them choices, give them alternatives. People love choices. They hate being backed in a corner. Watch this. Do you like being backed in a corner? Nobody does, right? So give them choices. So there's 3 menus for real estate agents. There's a recruiting menu, a buyer menu, and a seller menu. I've been doing these menus since 1991 when I started selling real estate in high school. And let me tell you, as a high school kid, I was listing stuff at 8 and 10% at a time when my competitors were maybe getting 6 and 7 at the very best, right? Which was rare. Most of them were taking 6. And so get this. I was charging substantially more, and my clients loved me for it. And I was in high school, guys. Can you imagine? If I can do it, you can do it. And I'm seeing agents all over. I'll give you a great example. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I'm thinking of a young man who listed 164 homes last year as a 23-year-old kid. Almost every one of those listings was at 5% on an average sales price of $600,000. That's 5% to the listing office, not even counting what the selling office makes. And that particular agent was very, very successful in all these listings. And I'm telling you guys, if they can do it, you can do it. Now, I'm not telling you what you should charge. I'm just telling you whatever you charge, you need to give them options, and you need to make sure that you're getting paid what you this on your page. Okay. Now, this gets really cool fast. We're gonna go really fast on this, but it gets really good. So watch this. Write down basic. And you could write down standard, or you could write down plus, or whatever. Some people have a hard time with the word standard. The key is that there's options. And once you've given them options, the word standard is not an issue. If you're only using, this is my standard commission, you can't do that, right? But you can go basic, standard, premium, or you can do bronze, silver, gold. You can do whatever you want. So I'm just going to go basic, standard, premium. Now, remember, you can't share this with anybody else, all right? Because and what I mean is you can't share what you're charging with anybody else. That would be racketeering. That'd be a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Not only am I not an agent today, but at the end of the day, I'm not a competitor of yours. I'm not telling you what you should charge. So I want you to literally, above the word basic, I want you to write down, what is the least amount of money you would ever charge someone? Like, I'm not even putting it on the MLS unless you pay me at least that. Write that above the word basic. Then I want you to skip over standard, go to premium. Above premium, I want you to write down, what is the most you would ever charge? Like, I couldn't in good conscience charge more than that. Put that above premium. Then I want you to come back to standard. And above standard, I want you to write down, what do you really want to make? Now, before you put this number in, I want you to put down not only what you really want to make, but I want you to make it at least 1% more than you're currently charging. Now, why am I saying that? Because I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't helping you make more money right now. Before you ever pay me a dime, I'm going to make you a ton of freaking money. Who else is going to do that? So watch this. At the end of the day, make sure that number is at least 1% more. Now, what do I have to do to list a house? Okay, I got to put it in the MLS, right? I'm going to have to take at least one photo of the front of the house. I'm going to put a lockbox on it. I'm going to put a sign out front. Okay, and then this is really popular, especially in the South and in Utah, right? I'm going to pray and hope that somebody else sells it because Lord knows I'm not gonna. Holy Hannah. All right, I know that sounds terrible, but that's like most agents' marketing plan right there, right? And so that sucks. That's terrible. That's not good marketing, right? But that's pretty much what other people got, right? All right, now, what I want you to do is let's go into standard and premium. So what can be done to sell a house? I could go open house times 1 here. Open house times as many as it takes over there. I could do pro photos. I could do a black and white flyer. Okay, I could do, what else can I do over here? I could do, gosh, I don't know, tons of stuff. Well, let's back over here. I can go 3D, drone, video. I can do staging. I could do floor plan. And by the way, floor plan, number one most requested thing from buyers is floor plans. The more buyers want floor plans, floor plans, floor plans. I cannot tell you enough how important floor plans are. All right, look, I'm not going to go into all the stuff you can do here. All you need to do is get on your favorite AI program, ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, whatever you're going to go on. But get on your favorite AI and ask it, what are all the things that a listing agent can do to bring value to the seller? Then I want you to stack as much value as humanly possible into your menu. Watch this, guys. So I got a bottle of water here. I've only had about 2/3 of it, right? So who'd give me like, I mean, this is probably only 1% backwash at this point. So who'd give me like $5 for this? Or $2 or $1 or 50 cents? Nobody give me anything for this. Well, you wouldn't even give me a dime for this, would you? But watch this. If you were crawling through the desert and hadn't had a drink in 2 days and you were on the verge of death, and I showed up with this bottle of water, no matter how much backwash is in there, you'd give me every dollar you had, wouldn't you? Like, you'd give me everything you have, right? Okay, so get this, write this down. Yeah, I know. People are like, sold. I love it, Star. But write this down. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. So think about this. When there really wasn't any value behind it, when you weren't in the desert, you didn't want to even give me a dime for my backwash water, right? But guess what? When you're in the desert and you're about to die and you need that water so you can live, you'll pay anything you want for it. So you got to think about that when you build out your menu. Stack as much value into your menu as humanly possible, and people will pay you whatever you want. That's the part you got to understand. And guys, with the whole commission thing, the best thing you can do is make sure everybody knows commissions are negotiable, right? And so you're going to negotiate them. And let me show you how I negotiate them. Okay. This is how I get what I want every single time. Okay. Now, I take my red pen and I'm going to start with Susie Seller, right? So I say, Susie, and by the way, I usually start from basic, go to premium, and come back to standard. I'm going to show you how a lot of agents are doing it. That a lot of the agents we coach are starting at premium, coming back to basic, and then finishing up on standard. So what they'll do is they'll say, Susie, look, you have taken really good care of this house. It's a wonderful neighborhood, great floor plan, great house. I just love this. And hey, you've got that ceramic tile in the primary bathroom. So, I just don't think you need to spend all that money on the premium plan to get top dollar for your home in the least amount of time with the least amount of hate to you. So if it's okay with you, should we just go ahead and cross that off and put that money in your pocket instead? Okay, fantastic. So we cross that off with our red pen. Then we skip over to basic. And I say, gosh, I got to be honest with you, Susie. I'm concerned about the market. As we discussed, sales are down 25 to 38% year over year, depending on which neighborhood you're in. And I'm just not sure this basic plan is going to be enough to get you top dollar for your home in the least amount of time with the least amount of hate to you. So if it's okay with you, should we just go ahead and cross this one off? Okay, fantastic. So we cross that one off. Then I switch right over to my blue pen, okay? And this is exactly what I do. Pay close attention, guys. So, Susie, that leaves us with our standard plan. This is the plan right here that all my clients, just like you, go with. This is the plan that's going to get you the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of headache to you. Won't that be great? Fantastic. She's closed. And let me tell you something. She feels like it was her decision. I didn't push her. I didn't force her. I didn't give her an ultimatum. She got to decide where she wanted to be. She just happened to end up right where I was hoping she would end up. And she and I both win. Guys, I'm telling you right now, you can do this. And watch this. If you feel like you can do this, type in "I can do it" in the chat or in the Facebook, wherever you're at. If you feel like I can do it, type in "I can do it." Okay. I'm telling you right now, if you're not typing in "I can do it" right now, something's wrong. Like I'm worried for you if you're not typing it in for two reasons. One, if you're just too cool to type it in, I'm worried about you. Okay. Because you're too cool to type it in. But number two, if you can't really believe that you can do it, then yeah, I'm super concerned for you. And by the way, I love Susan Crawford. I love what she's saying. She says, I've been doing it and it works great. So thank you for that, Susan. And Sherman, Sherman's like, oh, I can do it. Sorry, I was delayed. I was taking notes. Now, should you laminate the menu? You super can. You can totally laminate it if you want. You don't need to go to the trouble. I would just have it pre-printed in my packet with me, and I would pull out the menu. And you could even put it on the back of your checklist if you'd like to have it on the back of your checklist. So you just do a two-sided checklist. That way they're picking and they're initialing off on which one they want. You're putting that commission in the contract, and away you go. So as soon as she says, yes, that sounds great. Then I say, fantastic. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? No? Great. Here's the property disclosure form. Guys, that is literally it. And I promise you, if you will just do that one thing, I promise you will make more money with less effort. They will love you for it. They will refer you more often. It will be a smoother, easier sale for you and for them, and you will make a lot more money. Guys, I really appreciate you being on here today. I really hope you've engaged with us. I really hope you've typed into the chat, like if you want to come to the event, or if you want to sign up for coaching, or if you want to sign up for group coaching, or done one of our downloads. I really hope you guys take advantage of that stuff. And whether you do or not, I'm grateful for you taking the time today, and I would super appreciate it. If you're not going to engage with us in any other way, then it would be great if you would at least just go on to Google and maybe give us a quick review on Google. Just Google Club Wealth. and put something in there. If you would like, you could even put a testimonial in the comments here. Google's better, but if you even put one in the comments here, then we can certainly use that as well. It'd be really nice if you guys got value out of today. I'd appreciate that. And most of all, if you'd tell your brokers and other people you know, if you just tell them about Club Wealth, that would mean the world to me. But if nothing else, just go out and use the stuff. Have it help you in your career so that you can spend a little more time with your family and a little less time trying to figure out how to make business happen. Super appreciate you guys. And I'm seeing some people say, "Hey, I really want to do the group coaching." Yeah, so I'll stay on for just a couple of minutes here, so give you because I see there's still some people typing that in. So if you have any questions on anything I've asked today, I'm going to go ahead and answer those questions now. So just you can feel free to type in any questions you want, and let me pull up the Q&A box as well. I see there's some questions in there. Okay, I got some people who want, by the way, Cheryl, Patricia, Monica, if you guys could do me a favor and take that, I don't know, sometimes the Q&A doesn't come through on the notes for Zoom. So if you want to just copy and paste that over into the chat, then we'll be able to grab that. Camille can grab that from the chat and she'll make sure she gets you I see you guys wanted the 44-point checklist. Uh, and let me see if there's any other questions. Okay, so teams. So I see somebody said, "Shucks, we didn't cover teams too much." So on teams, so our new event, we have a new event coming up for the next 12 months, and essentially that event kicks off. It's not next week. I think it's in 2 or 3 weeks that we do the first one of those. And essentially, it's a short event. So it's basically we broke it up into two pieces. So the first half of the event is all about lead follow, lead generation, lead follow, lead conversion for tier 1, 2, and 3. And then we have the second half of the event, and we literally have these times broken out so you can choose to go to one or both at the same event, same day. And that second half is all about building a world-class team or fixing an existing team. Some of you have teams that need a little fixing. Some of you have teams that are doing well but want to get them to the next level. Some of you are just thinking about, gosh, I'd like to start a team. Well, great. Then we're going to cover that on these live events. And so we'll be coming to your area hopefully soon. And I'll tell you what really helps is when I'm in areas where I know where people are willing to help promote the event. The more people I have willing to help promote an event in the area, the more sense it makes to go to that area. Oh, Michael, you just asked me, how do we follow up with these live events? He's in Hawaii. Okay, so I'm doing actually I don't know if what company you're with, EXP, Brent Go's organization. I'm going to be doing a little event for them in Hawaii. By the way, is anybody here in Brent's organization going to Cabo next year? I'm curious if anybody's going to his One Big Fire event in Cabo for 2026. I'll be speaking at that event. Super excited about that. Great guy, great organization. But I don't have any Hawaii events on the docket right now. Now, I will tell you this, Michael. If we do a Hawaii half day event, we would probably do it in conjunction with our Mastermind in Paradise event, which usually happens in February. Mastermind in Paradise is on Maui, and it's only by invitation only. And so there's a limit to the number of people that can go to that. We only allow 25 people, and they have to be a certain tier and all that kind of stuff. But when we go to Hawaii to do that event, I could be persuaded to go maybe jump over to Oahu. What island are you on? I'm curious what island you're on, Michael. But if I had enough people, like if you're on Oahu, I had a feeling. Okay, so it's Michelle. Sorry, I can't read the whole name here. Sorry, thank you, Michelle. I don't have it expanded out to be able to see the whole name. I can only see the first part. But anyway, that being said, if you could get your broker involved, maybe get some other people in the area involved in helping promote it, I don't mind coming out to do a free event for you guys. I just need to get at least 50 people in the room to make it worth the travel. So I'm super open to that. Maybe you could private message Camille. You can see Camille on here and maybe coordinate with her. And if you want to do that, I'd love to get. Come on, who wouldn't love to teach in Hawaii? I love Hawaii. We go there a couple times a year. We love Hawaii. It's our third home. So we love it there. All right. That being said, other questions for me? Let me make sure that I want to make sure I've answered everybody's questions. And thank you for that. I see Tommy wrote tons of value, learning effective techniques and strategies. Now it's implementation time. Yes, sir. I agree. Okay. And yeah, so they will definitely reach out to you if you've signed up for the lead sources and the checklist and all that kind of stuff. Certainly they'll reach out to you for that. Well, guys, I appreciate you being on. I hope you had a great time. I hope you learned a lot. And more importantly, I hope you implement it. And, remember that phrase, that core value that I told you about? No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. Let's go make a ton of money. Let's do that. Okay. There's nothing wrong, with making a ton of money. Just make sure you do it in a way that, you remember who you are. Remember your kids, remember your family, love on them, make sure you're carving out time for them and making that time prioritized, along with your prospecting time. By the way, something I did not mention to you that you guys might want to know, one of the things I highly recommend is you want to spend the first 4 hours of each day making those calls. Okay. From 8 o'clock till noon, always do it first thing in the morning. If you're not doing it first in the morning, you probably won't do it. It's kind of like working out, right? You can tell I'm not, following that. I'm not doing much working out. But I'll tell you, when I am, it's only happens if I do it first thing in the very beginning of the day. And so that said, I would highly encourage you to do that. And yeah, we'll go from there. And then I see, and I don't know how to pronounce your name. Hold on, let me pull this. Let me see if I can read that. I know I'm going to butcher this. Hold on. Let me see if I can make your name bigger so I can read it. Is it? I can barely read. I have my glasses on. Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm getting to you. Kizrain? Did I get that right? Is it Kizrain? Hopefully, I didn't butcher that too much. But long story short, there we go. I did get that. That was bad, huh? Okay. So I'm assuming you're going to be at the event tomorrow. Are you going to be at dinner tonight? I'm not sure what you're doing. But if you're going to be at the event tomorrow, you could certainly, if you just show up a little bit early, I'll be there a little bit early. And certainly, pull me aside. Happy to chat with you and help you out in any way I can. So, guys, I appreciate you. Oh, one last thing. I could just sit here and talk all day, but there's like, let me give you one last thing that I don't know, just popped up in my heart, and I thought I should share it. You want to know one of the things that I've found is really common in and prevalent in the really, really, really top producers that are still the kind of people you want to be around, for lack of a better way of putting it. It's one word: gratitude. Guys, practice gratitude. Like, start literally, like, get really serious about gratitude every single day. Sit down and count your blessings, count all the things. Literally, there's a church song, from church. We have this song. It's, count your blessings, name them one by one, right? I won't bore you with the singing of it, but it's count your many blessings, see what God has done. And guys, I'm telling you, if you'll just do that every single day, and if you'll have a heart full of gratitude, you'll be amazed at who will be attracted into your world. You'll be amazed at the blessings that will come into your life, and you'll be amazed at how much happier you'll be, regardless of your station in life at that given time. And so, just in Kimberly, humility comes along with gratitude, right? When we really practice deliberate gratitude, humility comes along with that. It causes us to be more humble, right? So anyway, just a thought. That said, I've got to run. I got to get ready for my next appointment. I appreciate you guys being on. This has been a lot of fun. You guys have been really engaged. I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate all the love you've shown me in the chat, and thank you very much for that. And hope you guys have an awesome, awesome day. And I guess it looks like some of you I'll get the chance to work with here soon. So I'm really excited to get to know you guys better. And one thing I will tell you guys, I will make this commitment to you. I will care about you more than any coach on this planet. I will pour myself into you. I will make myself available to you. I will do everything in my power to the extent that you're willing to help yourself. I'm not going to do this for people that won't help themselves, right? But to the extent that you're willing to work hard and help yourself, I will show up for you. And I will pour myself into you. So just know, when you're coaching with us, anytime you want to get a contact, get a conversation with me, all you gotta do is reach out to our staff, jump on the help desk, call the office, let them know what the urgency level is. And I will, if I have to jump on a call at 3 o'clock in the morning to help you out, I will do that. And I'll tell you this, I don't know anybody else in this business, any of the coaches in this business that'll do that. And I'm not saying this to brag or be weird or anything like that. I'm saying this because I genuinely want you to succeed. I genuinely care about you. And I'm willing to put my time where my mouth is. So, and Susan, that was really nice of you to say that. Susan Crawford just said, "You've done that for me just Friday. Thank you." Susan, I love you, and it means a lot to me. I want you to be successful. And when you're going through stress, I go through stress. And so anyway, that said, have an awesome day, everybody. And she's, I love you too, my friend. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. Love you too. All right. Sounds good. You guys have an awesome day. We'll chat with you soon. Take care. Club Wealth is the only coaching company on the planet that will literally guarantee that you will double your income or make at least an extra $100,000 your first year coaching with us, or we will give you 100% of your investment back. Click the link below, sign up for the appropriate tier level, and let's get you a strategy session today. And I promise you, I 100% guarantee you, promise you that you will walk away with a heart full of gratitude for the time that we took for you, because you got so much value out of that call. Schedule your strategy session today. I promise you'll be glad you did.